Hello, and welcome to You're Wrong About Musicals. I'm Esme.
And I'm Nell, and this is my episode. I've done all of the research. I know everything about this song. This is my episode.
I've still done all the research.
Esme's done all the work, but she will tell you that like half of it is just things I've said that she's had to source.
For this episode, Nell was like, I'm going to do all the research. And then like a day later, she came back to me and we're like, we don't need to do research.
We don't need to do
know
research.
it in my brain. And I was like, no, we need links.
Okay, no. First of all, we just spent probably like what time is that?
An hour.
Like an hour. Where I was just going through videos because I was like, I know this and I know what video it's from. I know like where I heard it or where I saw it. I'll get you the quote exactly.
Yeah, but and half of that was going through Lloyd Webber's biography
that I have literally on my desk in front of me, just in case we need it.
Just for referencing purposes.
I also want to make it clear that I bought the. It's also not a biography; it's a memoir. I bought the memoir as a joke.
That's what they all say.
It was really funny up until we had to go up to the cashier and ask, "Can I get this?"
I was just
and then after
that,
that,
looking at it. Like looking at
it was in like it was in a posh little bookstore in central London.
It was in the official like booksellers of the royal family because they have like a plaque about it.
Yeah, they gave me a shit ton of like bookmarks too, so now I can like bookmark when I'm reading about his affair or something.
So as I said, I think we've been teasing this episode probably since the podcast began.
Yeah.
But
it's coming out on my birthday.
It's coming out on Nell's birthday.
It's my birthday today.
Yeah, if you're listening to this on the day it came out, everybody say happy birthday to Nell.
Thanks, guys.
But I also said at the end of the 6th episode, and then if you listen to the Heathers episode, I was realizing last week,
we said either at the end of the Heathers or the end of the Newsies episode, we were like, oh yeah, next week.
End of Heathers.
Yeah, we're like, next week is the Phantom episode. And then at the end of the 6th episode, we were like, what's the next thing we're recording? The Phantom episode.
No, I actually had to redo that because my dog's barking.
Yeah.
So I just had to sit there and be like, thanks, guys. But in that, I said, watch out because in 2 weeks we've got a massive episode coming to you and you just have to wait till the end of next week to figure out. But if you listen to the Heathers episode or anything Nell really says on this podcast, it's not
it's gonna come up
what this episode is going to be.
I'm really excited about this.
I'm kind of scared to just jump into it. So we have the most amount of notes we've ever had for an episode.
We is a strong word.
I do. Basically they're just talking points for now.
Yeah.
We're gonna try and not do readings from Lloyd Webber's biography, but we make no promises.
Phantom of the Opera. The music is back.
Just jump straight in.
I just could probably leave during this episode and it wouldn't make a significant amount of difference.
Yeah. So I'm like I should probably get my phone charged because I probably just spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
Zoned out, but I've got some things to say. I've got some talking points from my friends who we were gonna have on, but they're busy, so we're gonna have them on for a special episode. So they've got some opinions that they feel the need to be shared.
Yeah.
So now take it away.
Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera. I love this musical. It has got music by Andrew Lloyd Webber, lyrics by Charles Hart, I'm literally just reading what she's written on the stock. Additional lyrics by Richard Stillo. How do you say that?
I have no fucking clue.
Additional lyrics by Richard and the libretto written by Webber and oh my god, you spelled his name 2 different ways.
Yeah, well, basically, this is all from the official Phantom website, so it has to be true.
Yeah. It was directed by Hal Prince and choreographed by Gillian Lynn from Cats and produced by everyone's favorite producer, Cameron McIntosh. We love Cameron. He's referred to in the memoir as just Cameron.
Just Cameron. Everyone else is like their full name. Cameron.
Yeah. That's Cameron. He called like even his really old. Sorry, this is gonna get cut because I'm just rambling. Even his old like lyricist Tim Rice, he still calls Rice. But he calls Cameron McIntosh Cameron.
Because
Sarah Brightman is Sarah B the entire time.
No, because my theory is that no one can be asked to put up with their bullshit because their bullshit is so like the exact same.
Yeah.
So no one can be asked to put up with them. So they're just like bonded for life. It's kind of like us if you think about it.
Yeah.
Who's Andrew and who's Cameron?
I have to be Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Fuck that, I'm
Like,
Cameron McIntosh.
Would you rather be Webber?
No, actually, I'd rather be Cameron McIntosh.
If you're McIntosh, at least you've worked on Les Mis,
I
which
love
is a
Les
win.
Mis. I was talking
Esme
about
hated Les Mis
Les
for
Mis.
like the entire time I've known her. And then she got tickets to it for her birthday. And now she's like, I love Les Mis.
And I'm convincing some of my other friends who also hate it to go see it.
It's good. It's a good show.
Musical. You just got to go see it live.
Yeah.
To fully understand it.
The same with Phantom.
Yeah, honestly. Anyway, we'll get into it when we get into our thoughts. There's going to be a 30-minute timer placed on Nell.
Yeah, you're going to hear an alarm go off. Like, there's no way I'm going to be like, and now I'm done, and we have 5 minutes to spare.
Yeah, I'm going to be time. Moving on.
Yeah. It's based on a novel by Gaston Leroux. I shan't say too much on the novel, considering I have 3 copies on my shelf and a 4th one waiting for me at home.
So Nell went to go see it Christmas.
Yep. Just after Christmas.
And then we were in Central, we were going to the V&A musicals exhibit, because I was like, there's a clip of the Phantom Chandelier, let's go. And it was enough to get her to go to the V&A.
Yeah.
So, and then we were in Central and we went to the Big Waterstones and was like, I want to try and find a copy of Gaston Leroux's book.
But I didn't find it.
She couldn't find it there. Then I get a text from her being like,
I'm going into town.
Do you want to come? And I'm like, sure, whatever.
It was like just before we went back to uni after Christmas.
Yeah. She was like, I'm in Waterstones. I'm like, okay, cool. I love Waterstones. Let me go in there.
Yeah.
I run into a friend that I hadn't seen in a while. Nell's just roaming about and she's like, I'm going to find Gaston Leroux's
The Phantom of the Opera.
And I'm like, I'm just going to let you rock.
And I find it.
And she buys it and reads it.
And I buy it. And honestly, that purchase was the start of really a downhill spiral for my bank account, because I then bought you guys know, like, the Barnes and Nobles versions of like the hardbacks with the gold pages, but there's one which is the Phantom of the Opera and Other Gothic Tales, which I got, and I also got a version of Les Mis in the same like Barnes and Nobles edition, and I just bought Esme a version of Little Women in that edition.
I love Little Women.
And then my little sister also has some copies of it. By the way, between us we have 10. And we're looking to increase that number.
Yeah, worryingly.
We do keep buying them because we keep seeing pretty copies. Like, she has one with the Phantom's face on it, which is very cool. I love it. So
I do own 3 copies of Daisy Jones and the Six.
Yeah.
Anywho, moving on.
It's based on that book, which is a lot better than the musical. I'm gonna put that out there. It's like significantly better. I enjoy the book a lot more than I enjoy the musical, but I love the musical too. Yeah. In comparison, the musical is shit.
Half the fun of the musical is all the lore around it, though.
Oh yeah, like the fact that half of it just isn't explained unless you've read the book.
Yeah.
It's really fun. But I think the book is just a lot better. There are, like, I think the musical is really good, but it's not as good as the book. Anyways, in 1984, Andy, do I call him Andy?
I couldn't be asked to like write out Andrew Lloyd Webber, and Andy was just the easiest thing to type.
In fairness, we do call him Andy.
We call him Andy all the time. Just
to us, he is Andy.
Yeah. Well, Andy, he's our friend.
Andy, if you're looking for 2 more invites to give out to your Sidminton Festival this summer, we will come.
You don't even.
I'll dress up.
Yeah, we will go to any lengths except from.
I have no way to get to Sidminton. I have no way to get to your little chapel, but I've heard you talk about it. It seems lovely. I would love to go.
We will be great, enthusiastic theatre.
We're inspiring the new generation of theatre lovers.
Yeah.
I entered an Andrew Lloyd Webber contest,
so did I.
And I forced Esme to do the same on the principle that we should win because we're young.
It was like Webber's Summer of Fun, and you got tickets to all of his shows on the West End.
Yeah, you got 2 tickets, all of his shows.
Yeah. And so
I'm not going to enter.
When I entered, because I'd been subscribed to his mailing list when I signed up for Bonnie and Clyde pre-sale, and then I unsubscribed.
It's not his mailing list, it's Lloyd Webber Theatre's mailing list.
I was on the mailing list and I unsubscribed, but when I entered the contest, they made sure that I wanted to resubscribe.
It's really quite funny. I actually really like their mailing list. They're very nice on it. I was telling him every single year before Mother's Day and before Father's Day, like a week or so before, they'll send out an email and be like, "Hey, this is coming up. Do you want these emails or not? Because we give out offers for this shit. If it's like you're not comfortable with it, we'll unsubscribe you from just those emails." I'm like, wow, that's really nice.
That's
Not
sweet,
me
I
though. I'm
guess.
young and
Sweet. Yeah,
sprite.
I get what you mean. Anyway, moving on.
In 1984, Andy was asked by Cameron McIntosh to write a romantic musical. In the memoir released in like 2018, he says that Sarah Brightman,
Well, Sarah
uh,
B.
Sarah B, turned up in the middle of their Starlight Express rehearsals, which is already, pretty bad.
Yeah.
She turns up and she says the director and writer Ken Hill has contacted her to offer her the role of Christine in a production of Gaston Leroux's The Phantom of the Opera, which was scheduled to run in the spring at the Theatre Royal Newcastle, followed by a season at the Theatre Royal Stratford East. And it would be a jukebox musical of famous opera arias. And it was kind of jokey and camp and kind of a Rocky Horror Picture Show type thing. She tells Andy this, and Andy's like, wow, that sounds kind of fun. I don't really think you should do it. But I want to. I want to be kept up to date on what's going on with this show. And they go and see it and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I have about them going to see the.
Yeah, but it's basically that Sarah Brightman was asked to be in a different production of it.
She was asked to be in. I think there was one that went to East London.
Yeah, it's that one, Stratford.
Yeah.
Stratford in East London.
Andy, his mistress, and his best friend.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that the divorces were finalized by this point. I think it wasn't a mistress anymore.
Former mistress turned wife.
Former mistress, soon to be your Roman. I love you, by the way. I thought you were incredible. I have like various recordings of you as Christine.
We're so sorry that you've had to deal with Andrew Lloyd Webber's bullshit for as long as you have.
But basically, then the one Esme has written down is that Andy was asked by Cameron McIntosh to write a romantic musical based on the book. And then they watched the films and were like, this is a shit story.
Yeah. Andy directly said, I was actually writing something else at the time. I had realized that I'd been hung up because I was trying to write a major romantic story. And I had been trying to, ever since I started my career, that with the Phantom, it was that, like the romantic story. And I thought about it, and I was like, Webber didn't do any romance. He just did the most anything but romance.
Yeah. You can tell some of his stuff is like Jesus Christ Superstar has some attempts at romance.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing is really romantic in his works until you hit Phantom.
Cats.
I think kind of everything. There's not really a romance.
There's no romance in Cats.
As we've seen the Cats 2019 film.
We are experts in Cats. I've also done Cats.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've talked about this ever, but I've done Cats.
It was there's not a ton of like romance. Once you get into his later stuff, yes. But kind of Phantom is the first.
Yeah.
Or at least the first major one.
Anyway.
But yeah, they see this other version.
And they were like, let's do a Rocky Horror.
And it's campy. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it's good time.
And they want to keep that. They don't. Spoilers, they don't keep that.
No.
But they wanted to when they started working on that version. Hal Prince, director of the show.
There's this whole story from this documentary that they did on Phantom, which I have watched. I don't know if Nell's watched it, but I've watched it.
Probably.
No, because I sent it to you, and I don't think you've watched it.
Oh, no, I don't think I have.
So they went back and thought about it for a bit, and like thought about having Hal Prince as the director of the show. But then they like hired him and refired. Like they hired him. He worked on it. Was like, this could be a good show. I'm down to do it. And they fired him. And in this Phantom documentary, he's like, my wife told me to chill out because they'll be back because they're idiots. And then they were.
Yeah.
Bit of background on Hal Prince. He is a legendary. He was a legendary theatre giant that won 21 Tonys for musicals. Some of his other works include West Side Story, Fiddler on the Roof, where he was a producer, and he directed other works such as Cabaret, Company, Follies, Sweeney Todd, and Evita.
Yeah, he's iconic. Like, he is credited as one of the reasons why Phantom is as big as it is.
And, like, as good as it is because of how genius Hal Prince is.
Like, if you watch the newer stagings, the scaled down ones, the Cameron McIntosh ones, they are genuinely not as good.
No.
Like they're still very enjoyable, I think.
Yeah.
but they're not as good as the Hal Prince ones, like at
No.
all.
And those rumors that they're gonna rename the Majestic after him makes complete sense. Like,
Yeah.
this man needs to have a theatre.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So in the documentary Behind the Mask, which is the one I was just on about,
Yeah.
from the 26th of December 2009. So Christmas
That
program.
says 6. 26th of December 2006.
Oh, 2006, sorry. 6 and 9s look the same to me.
Esme's dyslexic, in case you couldn't tell.
Really
I don't know if that's come across yet.
I think
Esme is dyslexic.
I mentioned it before, but I am severely dyslexic. And Christmas programming is like a massive thing in the UK. And so getting a Boxing Day slot to show your little
really
Phantom documentary is
really
insane.
good.
They claim that the first production was in Andrew's country house, which we were just talking about.
Sidmonton
with Colm Wilkinson, Sarah Brightman,
Icon.
of course,
Icon.
as Christine.
Christine.
No, they changed.
They changed. Yeah, so I cannot find this quote anymore, but there is definitely a quote from when they first started writing their version of Phantom, where, in case you don't know, the Phantom's name is Eric. Like, he has a name in the book. It's Eric, Erik.
Yeah.
It's great. And there is allegedly a quote of Andrew Lloyd Webber saying that we must get rid of the name Eric. It's a horrific name for a protagonist. But Eric, I love Eric.
Eric's like not a bad name. They're like, Kristen's a worse name than Eric.
Yeah, it's I actually have a poster of the 1943 movie on my wall right now.
Basically, Nell's just been trying to buy as many Phantom artifacts as she can.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I have it, and I've read the synopsis for it. They changed like all of the names.
Yeah.
They call Eric Claudine. Christine is no longer Christine Daae. She's Christine Dubois. Raoul is like Raoul Dupont, and he's an inspector. And there's some other guy.
Yeah, what does Raoul do? Like, what is his job?
In what?
The musical.
He's Vicomte de Chantilly.
I didn't get that bit when I saw it.
Okay, you know how we have like a king and a queen, and then we have like barons and earls.
Yeah.
He's like one of those guys.
Oh, I didn't get that when we saw it.
So this doesn't make sense because in the musical he's just Vicomte de Chantilly, which is fine. But who is the Comte de Chantilly? Like the count? That's the word I'm looking for. Count. No, his brother Philippe.
Oh, you mentioned Philippe.
Philippe, he's the greatest character in the book. He's great. There are so many good points in the book that I just wish you knew. Like, for example, Raoul keeps crying. It's kind of his main personality trait. He just keeps crying, and Philippe is like, pull yourself together, man. There's a point when they're watching Christine in the opera and Raoul's just sobbing in his box. There's also a point where they go down into the lair and they hear crying, and Raoul and the Persian, and you don't know who the Persian is, but the Persian's another great character. They hear this crying coming from inside the lair because they're outside it, like trapped. And they're like, oh my God, Christine is crying. No. This is so sad. But yeah, they hear this crying from inside the lair, and they're like, oh my God, Christine is crying. This is so sad. And then they go in and it's the Phantom crying. The book's really good. The book is hilarious.
I'm not reading it. I'm just telling you.
I genuinely think you should. It has ridiculous chapter titles because they're translated from French, but translated in a kind of bad way.
I love a good translation. My favorite.
Can I read you some of my favorite
novel series of all time? My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, or the Neapolitan Quartet, is translated, but
yeah, but these translations aren't great. For example, chapter 3 in the first version I bought, they all have slightly different translations, which is fun. But this is the academic translation. Chapter 3 is called In Which, for the first time, Messieurs Dabian and Poligny disclose in confidence to the new directors of the Opera House, Messieurs Armand Montcharin and Fernand Richard, the true reason for their departure from the National Academy of Music. There's also, of course, Chapter 8, in which Fernand Richard and Armand Montcharin had the audacity to allow Faust to be performed in a cursed theatre and the terrible events that ensued. Yeah, but there's this thing that they change the names of the characters all the time for no clear reason.
Yeah.
And I kind of think apart from like the Phantom taking away his name Eric, the now stage production of Phantom of the Opera is surprisingly like
Faithful?
true to form.
Yeah,
They keep most of the names, they keep most of the titles. It kind of works.
interesting. So there were like other changes along with the names, like Think of Me being
Yeah.
called What Has Time Done to Me, and Notes being called Papers.
Notes works better than papers because they're
Notes
sending
works.
notes.
Yes. And the
And
original
it's also a musical theatre joke. You get
yeah,
notes at
you
the end
get
of a
notes at
performance.
yeah, and they are in a theatre. Phantom takes
Yeah.
place in a theatre.
Well, they're in an opera house,
Opera
not a theatre.
house.
But
Yeah.
they call it the theatre a lot.
The theatre. They do call it the theatre a lot. The original mask was a full one that covered the
You
mouth. Yeah,
skipped.
the original
Yeah,
mask was a full one that covered the mouth, so it made it hard to hear what the Phantom was saying.
yeah. Speaking of, before we get on to this next bit, which is quite good. Speaking of making it hard to hear what the Phantom was saying, in our like hour of research that we did quickly on call together before this recording,
Yeah.
we came across something in his memoir.
Is it the fight?
Yep.
This was Colin Wilkinson, not Michael Crawford.
No, yeah, but in that same vein, there in Act 2, there's the Phantom has a big song. He has a few big songs in Act 2. Actually, no, he doesn't. He has this one, which is called The Point of No Return.
Yeah, oh yes. I was about to say.
And in the staging for it, when Michael Crawford was brought on, and in the staging you'll see now, he has a hood over his head for the whole thing, because the whole thing is he's not meant to be the Phantom. You're not meant to think he's the Phantom, but he is. Michael Crawford and Cameron McIntosh
So as
are in
Andy
the car
says
together.
in his book, me, Cameron, and Michael Crawford.
Michael Crawford. They're in the car and they're driving from, I think, Vauxhall
to the theatre.
To Her Majesty's. And they're on Lambeth Bridge. And they're in a traffic jam. And Michael Crawford says, I think that I would like to pre-record me singing The Point of No Return, because I'm worried that with the hood over my face, you won't be able to hear me. You know, it'll sound muffled, it'll sound bad. And Cameron McIntosh is pissed. He's like, what? You just want to phone in your performance now? Like, we'll just do it? You know, record it now? And he said, for the amount you're being paid, you could at least sing it live. And this caused Michael Crawford to get out of the car, stand on the pavement of Lambeth Bridge in front of a group of tourists, allegedly, and fight Cameron McIntosh. And the only thing that stopped them was Andrew Lloyd Webber driving away and mouthing, "May the best man win" at them.
I want to see that fight so bad. You know, it's like historical moments you're sad you missed. Cameron McIntosh,
that one.
Michael Crawford getting into a physical fight.
They got back in and they drove the rest of the way to Her Majesty's in silence, and the issue was never brought up again. Which I think is especially funny because a lot of the Phantom of the Opera is pre-recorded now, because it's so much effort. Like the song The Phantom of the Opera, you're running around everywhere.
Yeah.
So you like physically can't sing it live.
No.
But yeah, a lot of changes have been made because the book is kind of rough on becoming a live adaptation.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a reason why a lot of them are changed, but only Andrew Lloyd Webber would look at something like that and go, yes, this is weird enough for
this
me
should be live
to adapt, because his other biggest works were like Cats and Starlight Express.
Yeah.
So we have some more details on this, but I just found it in this documentary when I was going through it. There were plans to have a flock of live pigeons released during the end of Act 1, I believe.
So in the scene, how do I phrase this? All I Ask of You, the song, there's a little bit of a scene before. I really like that song. Great song. And All I Ask of You, reprise. Great. But it basically takes place on a rooftop. It's a beautiful set.
Oh, again, amazing.
Hal Prince wanted to release a flock of pigeons at the start of this scene to make you realize you were outside, as if the set wasn't doing it.
He had a vision. He was a man with a plan. He had a vision. He had something to make. So
Yeah. And then allegedly, Cameron McIntosh and Andrew Lloyd Webber were like, we're not fucking doing that. And then they got permanently banned from a theatre.
Andrew Lloyd Webber's biography, just the snippets I've heard of it is a wild time.
It's a fun read, I'll tell you. Oh yeah, I was basically flicking through it to try and find all the because the memoir ends on the opening night of Phantom,
despite being called Behind the Mask.
Yeah, it's really weird. But so you kind of have to read through a lot of it. So I was flicking through kind of all the bits I thought might have some mention of Phantom. And there was just this bit where it was talking about something random, and then it was like, on this date, the IRA exploded a car bomb outside Harrods, and it killed 6 people. And one of them was a guy I knew. I'd met him once.
He really just be saying stuff, but then that also like cements people in it cements in the public's mind that he is the Phantom. I was having this discussion with my dad actually the other day, and he was like, "Yeah," I was like, "Yeah." Andrew Lloyd Webber like views himself as the Phantom.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Why would he view himself as a old composer who lives in the basement?" Has a let in all the theatres. I was like, well, that's just. And he was like, wait, I'm describing Andrew Lloyd Webber, aren't I? And I was like, yes.
I think it's pretty weird.
It's so weird.
Like, I do find it really weird because the book, again, I'm going to talk about the book a lot because I think it is really good. But in the book, you do feel sympathy for the Phantom, for Eric. Like, he's really tragic. You feel sympathy for him. You want him to have a happy ending, which he doesn't get.
Yeah.
And there's a whole question of, does he deserve a happy ending? Maybe not. But do you want him to get it? Kind of.
Yes.
Andy definitely sees himself as the Phantom. Like, he's definitely like, this really ugly composer, and no one likes me.
No one understands.
But trust me, when you hear my music,
you'll like me. It will enchant everyone, including Sarah B.
If he had just been even just a little bit more faithful to the book, you would definitely feel more sympathy for the Phantom than you kind of do in the musical. At least for me, I'm very cynical of the Phantom in the musical. I don't like him. I think he's a dick. It's because the Phantom in the book is just pathetic, so I love him so much.
Anyway, moving on. It officially opened in the West End, Her Majesty's Theatre on 9th of October, 1986.
Just a few days after my birthday.
Yeah, so there have been many. It was actually really easy to find reviews of it. There was just some person who had found all of the original reviews, both from the West End opening and then the Broadway opening. So it was said by London Theatre. It has since been said that it proved to be a night at the opera for people who, as a rule, did not go to the opera.
Us.
I
actually do really enjoy opera.
I don't know how. I would like to go to the opera. I feel like it'd be a fun experience.
We should go. Anyways.
Moving on. So the Daily Mail gave it 4 stars. Daily Mail said 4 words to sum up the unstoppable success of Andrew Lloyd Webber's triumph of reworking of this vintage spine-tingling melodrama. Stars.
None of those words describe the Phantom of the Opera. Just, to be clear, none of them.
Stars, spectacle, score, and story. They add up to that old magic ingredient, theatricality. There is simply nothing on earth that transports you so quickly or so far into fantasy than the feast of illusions, and how Prince's productions stints nothing of unending banquet of stuff. When I get my breath back from gulping down as much as is decent in one sitting, let me deal with each item of return. They then spend a lot of time talking about Michael Crawford and nothing about Sarah B.
I think I have talked about this. I don't know if this is said anywhere. It definitely won't be said anywhere by Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yes.
But there is definitely a thing that, again, in the book, that is going to be my catchphrase in this, I think.
In the book, yeah.
In the book, Christine is a very strong, heroine.
Yeah.
She's incredible. And the musical kind of strips her of all of that.
Yeah.
Because I think Sarah Brightman is an incredible singer. There's no doubt about it. She is incredible. She's amazing. I love listening to her
There
sing.
is a reason why the role of Christine has gone on to be as insane as her, and she still gets talked about today.
Yeah. And you definitely have people like Sarah Burgess, who
Yeah.
are iconic as Christine as well.
Toby, did you hear that?
Toby, I love Sarah Burgess as Christine.
Love Sarah Burgess.
And like Emmy Rossum too in the movie. I think she's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But Sarah Brightman, at least to me, is on a kind of different level.
Yeah.
Because the role of Christine, in the way it was written in the musical, was written for her.
Yeah. I mean, it has always been Sarah Brightman was there first. Let's write Phantom for her.
Yeah. And I think as a part of that, I wouldn't say that Sarah Brightman is the strongest actress.
Yeah.
She makes up for it in her singing and in her dancing to an extent. She was in Cats.
Yeah, because Christy Daae is a opera girl.
A
Ballet
chorus girl,
girl,
a ballet
sorry.
girl. Yeah.
She's also in the opera.
She's either called a chorus girl or a ballet girl.
Yes.
I don't think she's as strong of an actress. She's definitely a good actress, but she's not as good. I'm really trying to like gently say this.
Yeah.
But basically,
she's
in good
iconic.
ways, she's
but
iconic.
there have been better acting performances.
Yeah. And I think you can hear it in a lot of recordings. Like the original London recording versus the 25th anniversary recording. I hear the difference in acting. Like I think one line that really sticks out to me is in the second notes and Twisted Every Way.
Yeah.
When Carlotta accuses Christine of being behind it all. And the line she responds is, "How dare you? You evil woman, how dare you?" And Sarah Brightman says it basically exactly how I just said it.
Yeah.
Except singing it beautifully. Sierra Burgess actually acts the line and sounds like scandalized, like, how fucking dare you? But I think that is something to keep in mind. Look at the character of Christine.
Yeah. So The Guardian said, "We've had some pretty grim experiences in musical theatre in the last years. We have seen people turned into roller-escaping ciphers, dwarfed by laser beams and simultaneous holograms, and treated as pawns in a political chess game." Those are all Andrew Lloyd Webber shows.
Yep.
But the cheering thing about Phantom of the Opera is it puts on a spectacle, and there's plenty of it, to the service of executing a story, in that the music is used in a old as opera name.
Puccini-esque?
Puccini-esque way to intensify the dramatic situation. In the end, the Phantom works despite the odd blank stretch, because it delights the possibilities of theatres, from its vast prop elephant operated by a bear swinging stagehand to the demonking disappearance of its hero through the floor surface. It is determinedly old-fashioned, but in the new fashion of Boy Meets Laserbeam, is refreshing to find a musical that pins its faith in people, narrative, and traditional illusion.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's like what we said after we saw it, and I was like, technically, it's an incredible show.
Stunning.
From the chandelier to all of the sets.
Yeah.
Like every little bit of it is incredible from a technical aspect. There are other bits it lacks, but it is an incredible thing to watch.
Yeah, no, it's stunning. And I do like the fact that they are both roasting Andrew Lloyd Webber and praising him.
Yeah,
because he's always had like a difficult relationship with the critics, because he's made musicals that aren't critically fun, critically good.
A lot of them.
Starlight Express and Cats, but Run for Ages.
Bad Cinderella.
Oh, Bad Cinderella. Anyway, I've included some Broadway reviews. The New York Times stated, "It may be possible to have a terrible time at Phantom of the Opera, but you'll have to work at it. Only a terminal prig would let the avalanche of pre-opening publicity poison his enjoyment of the show, which usually wants nothing more than to shower the audience with fantasy and fun, which often succeeds at any price. What one finds instead is
a characteristic Lloyd Webber project, long on pop professionalism and melody, impoverished of artistic personality and passion, the director Harold Prince and the designer Maria Bjornsson and the mesmerizing actor Nicole Crawford mention of Sarah Brightman
No mention of Sarah B.
have elevated quite literally to the roof. That's true. Chandelier reference.
Chandelier.
Chandelier.
I love that chandelier.
Phantom of the Opera is as much a victory of dynamic stagecraft over musical kitsch as it is a triumph of merchandising Uber allies. Uber allies? Uber als?
Yeah.
It's German. I don't know.
Mr. Lloyd Webber is a creature, perhaps even a
Stop
prisoner.
Mr. Lloyd Webber is a creature.
Perhaps even a prisoner of his time. With the Phantom of the Opera, he remakes La Belle Escapade in his own image of our Gilded Age.
La Belle Époque.
I don't know French.
You said escapade.
It's.
You said escapade.
What does that mean, though?
I don't fucking know.
Okay.
I hate French. I hate French people.
That's a joke.
No, it's not. It's not. I do speak French, but I hate French people.
Parody in our own image of the Gilded Age. By any chance, this musical doesn't prove Mr. Lloyd Webber's most popular. It won't be his fault, but another sign that times are changing and that in our boom era, like the opera house's chandelier, it is poisoned to go bust. Longest running show on Broadway, guys. Calm down.
I think that's the thing. Like, it makes a good point that if Phantom had failed, it would have definitely shown that theatre was changing.
Yeah.
But it didn't fail.
No,
theatre changed anyways.
Do you want to do the synopsis and then I'm gonna set your timer? You always read the synopsis.
About half of this timer is gonna be me like talking shit about the synopsis.
Okay, go.
Far beneath the majesty and splendor of the Paris Opera House, Phantom in a shadowy existence, shamed by his physical appearance and feared by all, the love he holds for his beautiful protege, Christine Daae, is so strong that even her heart cannot resist. No. No. That's. I think it's just the Phantom of the Opera. The musical is definitely a love story. It's meant to be a love. I don't know whether it should be. This whole thing of, are you Team Phantom or Team Ral? Like, who do you think she should have ended up with? There was no question that she was never going to end up with the Phantom in any adaptation you watch. Purely because the whole point of it is that it doesn't matter how ugly the Phantom is. It's his actions. Like, Christine, again, not so much in the musical, in most other adaptations, is a very strong character. She's, there's this whole thing in the book where one of the biggest things about her is that people think she's hiding something because she's so pure. But the reality is she's just very pure. She's just very nice. And so there's no question she's never going to end up with the Phantom. But it's like heart and soul, head versus heart, all of that stuff. I'm going to try and stop myself talking about the synopsis. I think it does a fine job of kind of summarizing what it's about. It is kind of a love story.
It's Andrew Lloyd Webber's take on a love story.
Yeah.
Should we talk about our histories with Phantom of the Opera here as well?
I hate Phantom of the Opera.
You hated Phantom of the Opera, right? Yeah.
Still do, to an extent.
It's ruined your life.
It genuinely has. I hated it for ages. And then my parents were like, oh, we're going to go see something on the West End after Christmas. And I was like, great. I love musicals. I don't know if you guys knew this about me. I love musicals.
Yeah.
I was like, what will it be? What's on right now? Oh, it might be something like iconic, like Les Mis.
Spent a solid half an hour just going, okay, it could be this, it could be this, it could be this. Like,
yeah. I was like, oh, it could be a few things. That'd be fun. I also just want to say, having now visited the theatre multiple times, not even necessarily just to be like, hey, I want to go see this theatre, because we were nearby and walking past, because we spend a lot of time in that area.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff
what
that we
fucking route my
do.
Parents were taking us on. But in all honesty, I had not seen that many shows.
Yes.
Like, especially compared to this year, where I've seen a ton. I hadn't seen that many at that point. So I was like, I kind of have an idea of like where all the theatres are, but I have no idea where we are going.
Yeah.
And it was to Her Majesty's apparently, and we watched it. And I'm not going to read out the text, I've realised. But I was complaining. I was like, I cannot fucking stand
text messages I got. You were talking about getting yourself kicked out.
I'm going to say it, and you have to keep it in because it's like the joke we make all the time.
You're gonna.
when the time comes, I'm going to kill myself at Her Majesty's Theatre. I just want to know what happens. I know I won't be there, but for all of you at home, I want to know what happens when someone kills themselves in a theatre.
Please don't.
Especially one where the Phantom of the Opera has been playing for like almost 40 years.
Please don't. I really like that theatre. If you die in it,
it'll be haunted and it'll be fun.
I really like that theatre. Spent a lot.
I know. I think it's
like
it's too historic. They can't tear it down.
No,
to,
it's
like,
a
get rid
grade
of my
2
ghost.
listed building.
Exactly, so they have to keep it up. But it'll just be haunted. And then I saw the show and I walked out and I was like, you know what? I'm glad I've seen it because it's one of those shows that is really good.
Yeah.
But it's also shit, and I do stand by that.
Yeah.
Like, no, I know it might seem like I really love Phantom of the Opera, and I do. But also, it is kind of shit.
It's kind of
in
bad.
a fun way.
And then you texted me a couple of days later being like, you need to go see this. I need you to go see this so you can understand my insanity.
Okay. And I also stand by that. The only person I could talk to was like my little sister, and I couldn't talk to her because I was away at uni. So I was like, Esme, I need you to see this. Because no one else, and also my little sister loved it. Like the whole reason we went was because of my little sister. Yeah, yes. I wanted Esme to see it because I wanted to be like, look, this is an incredible like production. It's amazing to watch. It's amazing to listen to.
It's so stunning. I don't know how else to describe it. It is truly epic.
Yeah. It's one of those ones that I do genuinely think everyone should see it.
Yeah, no, like my friend was like, my mum wants to go see it. I don't know if I want to go with her. And I was like, no, you need to go. And she was like, why? And I was like, the chandelier.
It's one of those things that you might walk out of it and be like, you know what? It's not my thing. It's a bit too old. It's a bit too opera.
I was definitely like, the plot's not something that I'm going to get like massively into.
Unlike me, which was the thing I got really into.
If it comes up on my shuffle, I'll vibe to it. It's good.
Yeah.
I think that I've seen some of the set pieces up close and they are stunning.
Yeah, like there's so much work went into it. It is genuinely an incredible thing to see.
Even before I had much of a concept of Phantom of the Opera,
you kind of know it's a spectacle.
Yeah, no, so I knew it was a spectacle. I didn't know like how big of a spectacle, and then all of a sudden I'm just walking through the wings and you can just see.
Because Esme gets to just go on stage at Her Majesty's.
I did it once. I was like a 12-year-old, and they were like, "Guys, look up when you're walking through, because the set pieces are insane." And so we were just told to like look around, and I remember seeing the mirror.
I'm gonna say this, and this might change some people's opinions of me. I've never been on stage at Her Majesty's. I would love to. I'd love to get a tour.
You would love nothing more than that.
Andrew, if you're listening,
I lived out your dream. First of all, you didn't realize.
I know. Andy, first of all, can we go to the Sidminton Festival? I just want to see what you're up to these days. Number 2, if that's not possible, or if it is, this as well. Core of Her Majesty's, His Majesty's, now.
Her Majesty's.
Her Majesty's in our heart.
So, yeah.
Core of Her Majesty's.
And then I got to go up the Dome, where they do all the rehearsals.
Yeah.
And then I was in the Louvre, and when we went to go see it, it was the same Louvre that we went in, and I had a massive moment of deja vu where I was just stood there staring, and I was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I've been in these Louvres before, been in here before."
Yeah. So I just live vicariously through like the Instagram takeovers. And they're like, Holly-Ann Hall's like, come backstage with me at the Phantom of the Opera. Here's our stage door. Here's our rehearsal room. Here's us practicing the ballet. I'll talk about that in a second. That's just reminding me of something.
Nell's thing with the Phantom. So my friend was sat in the auditorium and posted something about it on her B-reel, and in the background was the chandelier of the Phantom, like the Phantom chandelier, and I like zoom in, so it's a weird angle, screenshot it, send it to her. I was like, "Is that the Phantom chandelier?" She's like, "Yep, that's the fucker.
That's the Phantom chandelier."
So your thing with the ballet.
Oh yeah, I think it's the kind of it's gonna sound so weird. It's the same kind of thing I'd say about Theatre Camp, the movie. You will enjoy it so much more if you are like a theatre kid, because there's this kind of thing where there are kind of 2 ongoing critiques within the musical, which is 1, Carlotta cannot sing, and 2, ballet girls cannot dance. Both of these, when you're actually watching it, are false.
Yeah.
Dancing is incredible, and Carlotta is always an amazing singer. She's a trained opera singer.
Yeah, Carlotta's like a proper
Yeah.
Like
So
often
if
if you look at the Carlotta's credits, it's like proper opera.
shall I get mine out?
Do you have it with you?
I have the whole thing on my desk. My folder of
Like,
them.
really?
Leaving that with my family. Can you imagine?
Go
No,
on.
so there are those two ongoing jokes. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
Yeah, go
One
ahead.
is that Carlotta cannot sing, and two is that the ballet girls cannot dance. But
Nell's got out her program now.
yeah, I just keep it with me at all times. I keep a lot. I have I was
She
looking through it recently actually.
brings her folder everywhere she goes. Fun fact: if you ever
Yeah.
see Nell out in the wild, ask to see her program collection because she will have it with
I
her.
don't carry it with me.
That's what you say.
Let me find Carlotta. Yeah, so it's like this specific Carlotta we saw, Kelly Glyptis. I believe we saw. I don't think we saw
No,
a
because
study.
there weren't any signs.
Her page in the program has a section of opera and a section of musical theatre. And so it's this thing, they're always opera trained, they're incredible opera singers. And it's basically this kind of thing of you're watching a musical, not an opera. So she sounds bad, in quotes, because she's not singing musical theatre, she's singing opera. And then I don't know what I think the joke with the dancers is that they just keep getting interrupted by the most insane shit.
Yeah.
So you don't really see it in actually you do. The first time we see them dancing is after the overture in Hannibal.
Yes.
And they get interrupted by the new managers coming on.
Yes, and then that leads into Think of Me.
Yeah. Where we don't see them dance.
Yeah.
The next time we then get told that they were horrible because
Madame
Jury comes on and she's like, such Jean de Plie.
She starts screaming at me.
Sorry, I recently bought a vinyl of it and it included the script, which I didn't know when I bought it. I got it for 10 quid at a little shop. So I'm very happy. We hear that they're bad. And then the next time we see them dance is in Il Mito.
Right.
During which in their dance. I don't actually remember if this happened in our performance. If for some reason this was just in the first performance I saw. The manager gets trapped on stage with them.
No, I think that happens.
Okay, that does happen then.
Why would it only happen in your performance? You saw them.
No, some stuff just happened in my performance and then didn't happen the second time. I was like, wow, that's interesting. I've never told you that, but I genuinely think the first time I saw it was a lot better than the second time. I don't know why. It wasn't like any of the actors' fault, but there were just things that happened in the first performance. I was like, this is really good. And then the second time I was like, why didn't they do that?
Why didn't it hit as hard?
Yeah. That's a whole different thing. I just don't like seeing shows more than once, I don't think.
Yeah. You do talk about going to see Phantom of the Opera all the time.
I would go see it again, but I just wouldn't. I'd enjoy it less and less more. But then I'd finally get back to hating it.
So that's the way I can be free.
Yeah.
If you just
have to keep buying me tickets. Yeah. So then the second time we see them in Il Muto, the manager gets trapped on stage, which kind of fucks them up. And then a dead body falls from the rafters.
Oh, that was.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I told Esme not to laugh because it kind of bounces a bit.
I went into Phantom pretty much blind. It was a wild time.
Yeah. No puzzle, like you cannot laugh at this bit. Like it's going to be funny, you cannot laugh.
Being sat next to Nell, who's basically a Phantom expert at this point. And
I'm going to tell you the funniest thing that Esme said when we saw Phantom. Which there's a song which is Notes / Prima Donna, which is the first notes in the first act. And in all honesty, this has never been my favorite song. Like I think it's okay. It's just a bit long.
It's long, and by that point you're like, this is a long act.
Yeah, we've been sat here for like 2 hours. Nothing's really happened.
Been sat here for 2 hours and like the cool stage effects aren't happening. Christine and Phantom are nowhere to be seen. Yeah. Whereas like
it's basically you've just sat through Music of the Night, which is the worst song ever written. That's a lie. It's a beautiful song. I just hate it.
But Phantom, like seeing Phantom of the Opera live, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
I was like, I get why people like this show now.
Yeah.
Like seeing the big numbers live was worth it.
The thing with Music of the Night is, first of all, you can so tell it's Andrew Lloyd Webber writing about himself. And secondly, they constantly perform it in like we saw West End Live. And it's for no reason, because it's a solo song by the Phantom.
It's like 6
And then
minutes long.
Christine is just stood there, and it's ridiculous. And it's just a really long song. Like, it just keeps going on and on and on. Which I feel, I honestly kind of take that bet a bit, having seen Love Never Dies. Some of the songs in that, like 20 minutes long. Anyways, I won't talk too much about Love Never Dies here. I actually really enjoyed it. I will say that. I think people are too harsh on it.
No comment.
But where the fuck was I? I've gotten so distracted.
So Prima Donna.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Prima Donna happens. And it finishes. And it finishes in quite a grand way. Like, there's a nice
Like, there's
note.
a button. There's a button. There's like a, this is the end of the song, big moment.
Yeah, the lights like cut afterwards. And Esme turns to me, and the lights haven't come back off yet, obviously. And she like whispers, she's like, so is that the end of Act 1? And I was like, Esme, I would say we're like around, like just past 3/4 through. Like, there's still a significant chunk
I was like,
of
okay.
things to happen.
I was like, okay, Ral and Christine have met. Phantom and we've set up the Phantom and Christine thing, like, and now what the fuck is going on? I'm so lost. By that point, by the time we got to Prima Donna,
the chandelier has to fall.
I was just like, when's the chandelier falling?
Yeah. I honestly, I feel like 3/4 is kind of a over exaggeration. Like,
Yeah.
you're most of the way through Act 1, but there's still a pretty significant bit to happen.
Yeah, but there's a lot of plot that happens in that moment, whereas there's not been a lot of plot for like the last 10-20 minutes.
You get Awful, All I Ask of You, All I Ask of You, Reprise, Chandelier.
Yes.
At least 4 songs, basically.
By the time like All I Ask of You, I was like, okay, I'm okay now. But like when it was that big group number, I was just like,
but now I just love listening to Prima Donna now, because I just when it ends, I'm just like, is this the end of Act 1?
Is this the end? Is it over? Am I free? Please tell me I'm free. But I enjoyed the big numbers, like the ones that everyone goes on about, and those are the ones I listened to. I was listening to Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again.
Love that song. Best song of the show.
That song. And again, when I saw Phantom of the Opera live with all the stage effects and everything, I was like gripped. I was like on the edge of my seat. I was like, this is what theatre should have been. It was one of those moments where I was like, I wish that there was like a camera on me to capture my reaction. And
I think, again, I've never watched a bootleg.
No.
But
I've never watched a Phantom bootleg.
I've never watched a bootleg. However, I don't feel bootleg can capture Phantom of the Opera.
No.
And I think one of the specific things that makes me think that is there is this point in Act 2. It actually happens a little bit in Act 1, but it's specifically in Act 2 that it really becomes clear. It's right before they start staging Don Juan, and they get a note from the Phantom.
Oh yes.
And they project his voice going round and round the theatre.
Oh yeah.
And it worked really well the first time I saw it. And then the second time I saw it, we were right next to a speaker.
Yeah.
And you could so perfectly, it would sound like someone was coming towards you speaking, and then they were moving behind you and going away. And that was incredible, because it really is like a auditory effect. And then the second thing is the doors.
Oh yeah, you were talking
when they're like, oh, let's all lock the doors so that the Phantom can't get out and we can kill him.
Yeah.
And where there are basically fire exits in the theatre, they play the sound of them shutting and locking them. They obviously don't, because it's a fire door. They can't do that.
They legally cannot do that.
Which, by the way, just like within the canon of Phantom of the Opera, 6 months prior, a chandelier had fallen in your theatre. Would you lock the fire doors when you're dealing with the same guy? Yeah,
he's unhinged.
Not the smartest move. But so they play this effect of like the doors locking and someone shouting locked throughout all of them. Like, I think it's that thing that you can't really pick up on that in a recording. And there's other things, like I don't think the overture hits as hard if you're just listening to a recording. Which is why I've said multiple times that I would buy seats at the back of the balcony and just sit for the overture and leave. Yeah, because it's proper, it thumps through you almost. And Yeah.
You can like feel
And
it in your
then
body.
the chandelier is rising in front of you.
It's
incredible.
truly amazing.
You need to see it live.
It was like when I saw Les Mis, and like I wish that there was a camera on my face the entire time I saw that as well, because I was just like on the edge of my seat, like this is what musical theatre should be. Like,
yeah. I think it's
sound like
thing,
such
these
a dreamer, but
we haven't talked about a lot of these yet. I cannot wait to. I think mega musicals is genuinely when musical theatre peaked. Like I think stuff like Hamilton, Tuck, which is like my favorite musical ever, even like Groundhog Day, are all incredible musicals. They're modern musicals. I
Groundhog Day
love
did
them.
like some of the effects in Groundhog Day did give me that similar feeling.
But they'd never because I would define a mega musical as having a mega set piece.
Oh yeah.
So again, Bridge and Starlight Express, Helicopter in Miss Saigon, the chandelier, the barricade, which no longer exists really as a mega piece. In
the rest of it's
kind
mega.
of does.
The rest of it's mega in my heart.
In my heart, yeah. But yeah, I would say like a lot of these musicals that are spectacles aren't mega musicals. And they're all really good. Like I've only seen maybe one musical that I really hate recently.
Yeah, it takes me a lot to hate a musical.
But I've figured out what it is. I figured out what makes me hate a musical. Yeah, even like Newsies has a mega set piece, I would say. That scaffold is pretty big.
Scaffolding.
But I wouldn't call it a mega musical.
I think that just like the breadth, also like how long they are, how like detailed and intricate they are, like how, I don't know, there's just something about them that just like hits. And when it hits, it hits. And I get how they're not for everyone. I get how a lot of people can look at them and be like, what the fuck is this?
They're a lot to take in, and I feel like it can be overwhelming. Or at least it can definitely feel overwhelming before you see it.
Yes, yeah.
But I do genuinely think it's kind of when musical, which makes me sound really old and really like traditional. I do think it's when musical theatre.
You weren't even alive.
We used to have big ass chandeliers rising from the stage.
You still do.
Now what do you have? A set you don't use until the end of Act 2?
No mincemeat chat.
I feel like a lot of my talk about Phantom is basically just you have to see it live. And once you've seen it live, I can say something like, oh, but Phantom of the Opera is so good. And then we'll be like, yeah, it is.
I'll be like,
it is actually really good.
Really good, but also it's kind of shit.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of things. There are a lot of funny things in its history with like stuff surrounding Phantom.
Oh, I'm so intrigued. Like that's where the Phantom lore is like, oh, I love it because it's all so weird.
Yeah.
And the most unexpected thing you'll ever be like Sarah Brightman and Andy had Sarah B and Andy. They had a duplex in Trump Tower during the time of Phantom of the Opera. Like
that just happened.
That's a part of history. Trump also went to opening night in New York.
It's genuinely because it's such a big musical and it's been running for so long.
It's a piece of history. And it's still going. So it's like living history at this point.
I think we will talk about how maybe it's a little outdated in some senses.
Oh, 100%.
I feel like even with something like Les Mis, you go in and you watch it and it still feels modern.
Yeah, I was like, barricade!
Yeah, like there's an aspect where you're like, oh yeah, this is a modern thing. This is, a modern story.
This is a modern story. It's an old story, but it's a modern story that can be easily applied. The themes of it and themes of striking and fighting for workers' rights, especially in this day and age.
Yeah, like with Newsies.
Can be applied to this modern thing. But with Phantom, it's like, oh, we're in a Paris opera house and there's a ghost and there's a phantom and he's in love with this person. Like, it's very much Andrew Lloyd Webber issues.
Yeah, honestly, I think the book does it very well. Because I don't know if I've told you about the rat catcher.
No, you have not mentioned the rat catcher.
So there's a bit when Raoul and the Persian are traveling through. I feel bad calling him the Persian, but it's kind of just what he's referred to.
That's very Oklahoma core.
I think he's called Daroga at some points, but I don't feel like I'm pronouncing that right, so I'm just gonna call him the Persian.
Okay.
There's a point where they're traveling through the sewers to get to the lair, to get to the Phantom's lair. And there's like a man running towards them, and they're like, "Oh fuck, it's the Phantom! No, he's gonna catch us and kill us." And then he runs past and he's followed by a ton of rats. And they're like, the Persian's like, don't worry, Ram. That wasn't the Phantom. That was the rat catcher. He was told me about him, but he didn't tell me that he looked like that. We're not really told what he looks like. But yeah, and they do it in the prologue of the book as well, where they talk about a ton of other stories, I guess, like urban legends around Paris at the time. And they're like, these are all real too. It's not just the Phantom, all of this stuff is real too. And that's what and especially because LaRue used to be a journalist and it's written as if it's like a almost an expose on the opera house.
Interesting, I didn't know that.
Where it's all very much like this happened and then this happened, and actually they were stealing from the opera house too.
I guess
it's kind of weird.
The prologue of Phantom almost sets you up for that kind of thing of like we're telling a story of the past.
Did you know that Meg is in the prologue? My sister had to tell me this.
Is she?
You know when they're auctioning off all the stuff?
Yeah.
And they sell one thing to one of the other characters on stage, and the auctioneer is like, "Thank you, madam." That is supposed to be Meg.
Oh, that messes with the timeline even more.
No, it doesn't. Only if you don't take Love Never Dies to be canon, which most people don't.
It's not. It's so not.
My favorite thing about, can I just say this? My favorite thing about Love Never Dies is when he was like, it's set 10 years after the Phantom of the Opera, 1910. The Phantom of the Opera is set in the 1880s. My final things that Esme will tell you, I could talk about all of this stuff for hours, and I'm really trying to hold back.
Yeah.
I do think the book is better than the musical. The musical is better than the film. All of them are kind of outdated in some ways and kind of don't make sense.
Yeah, if you like look at them close enough, hold them up to enough inspection, like it won't make sense. But
but all of them are incredible watches.
It is Andrew Lloyd Webber's magnum opus. Like it's his I think he knows on some level he's never gonna write another Phantom.
Yeah. It's one of those things that like again I kind of collect stuff from it. Like I currently have some cassettes of the recording from Esme. Yes. I just got a CD of the original recording today, and a few days ago I found the original vinyls. I also found a vinyl of Joseph, which I'm very excited about. But there's no real reason for me to have any of this stuff. But I really like having it, you know? And I got them all for pretty cheap, so. I
mean, in that case, then fair enough. My closing thoughts on Phantom as a show. It's good. You should see it.
I love it. I genuinely love it. Like, I know I'll joke and say I hate it. And probably at some point I will, like,
hate it.
Stop caring about it.
Yeah.
But I do genuinely love it. And I think the thing is, so many other people, like, actually, there are so many people obsessed with it, basically.
Yes.
And my anecdote for this is one that Esme can also corroborate.
Your friend?
No. Well, yeah, them too. Who sees it like at least once a week, basically.
Which is insane because the ticket prices is.
Yeah, and they're like front row every time.
Oh,
and they go in cosplay. Once Esme was like, "Hey, you free to record this weekend?" And I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "Why aren't you free to record this weekend?"
No, you just went, "No, I'm not." And then you stated it, and I was like, "Fine."
And then I stated I wasn't able to record that weekend because I was in a Roblox production of the Phantom of the Opera. And I want to make it clear that I was kind of doing it as a joke, but it is actually really fun to do. Specifically because I also didn't realize I knew it as well as I did until I started doing it. But these people are playing Roblox and they know the staging of the show off by heart. Like they'll be like, "Oh, we have to have another person in the Christine outfit to get behind the mirror to fall through to be the mannequin. You know, oh, you need to enter from this side because the set is coming on from the other side. If you can play these two characters, you can run off during this bit and switch characters and come back on for that bit. You know, you have to climb up this ladder at the back of the stage to get on top to come down on the angel for the end of All I Ask of You reprise. You know, after this bit, you have to run downstairs, change, and get up the stairs back on for All I Ask of You. We need this many people total to play all of the characters with enough plausibility that we can have people running on and off. These are all the stagings for notes. There was one girl I played with who knew every single line and would type them out in chat as she was fake singing them.
That's insane.
People adore this show. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's really sweet, actually.
But I think I might have a Les Mis one. I'll check it out for you if you want to play with me.
Thanks. I don't need more things to do, but
how long was it?
Long was what?
My thoughts.
Your thoughts? It was over half an hour. I gave you some extra time because we had to pause because my dogs were acting.
How much extra time? Because I also kept talking while you were gone.
Like 5 minutes.
All right, not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
But do I have anything left to say about Phantom? It's Andrew Lloyd Webber's self-insert fanfiction that he's subjected the entire world to for 35 years. And on some level, I respect him for that.
Yeah.
Like, he's made his problem everyone else's problem and made a ton of money from it.
Yeah, I do respect that, to be fair.
And it's hilarious to think about because it's held up as this pinnacle of musical theatre among people. It's like,
yeah.
At this time, it's currently been running 36 years, being the third longest running show on the West End. Behind.
Will you come to the 40th anniversary with me?
Obviously. Yeah, being the third longest running show on the West End, with Les Mis and Mousetrap being running longer than the Phantom of the Opera. With Phantom, at the time of recording, the time I wrote this, which was like last week, having played 14,000 performances. Obviously not continuously because of the pandemic. It was nominated for 3 Olivier Awards, only 3, being Best New Musical, Best Performance of an Actor in a Musical for Michael Crawford, and Designer of the Year for Maria Bjornson. It won Outstanding Performance in a Musical for Michael Crawford and Musical of the Year, which is like Best Musical. It also, I don't get how it didn't get the design award.
No, for real.
Or how Prince got a Tony for that. Back to Phantom. In 2002, it won the Audience Award for Most Popular Show at the Olivier Awards. It was an award that was given out until 2016. Yeah, so basically, the Olivier's, as we keep saying, basically does whatever the hell it feels like in any given year.
Yeah.
So they decided to start giving out this award in 2002 and then stopped, and then started giving it back out in 2010, and then stopped after a couple of years, and then gave it out again in 2016. But then it's made it so Phantom was able to get like 2 other Olivier Awards retroactively.
Deserved.
Which is kind of hilarious to me. It has a cast recording, as we have mentioned. It is very iconic. The most famous one is the 1986 London cast recording that was released in 1987, being certified 4 times platinum in the US and 3 times platinum in the UK. For reference...
The one I have all the versions of.
Yeah. For reference, Olivia Rodrigo's debut album, Sour, has gone 4 times platinum. Like, this album has sold similarly to Sour by Olivia Rodrigo, just in the US alone. It's gotten certifications in other countries. It has been claimed that it has sold 40 million copies worldwide, making it one of the best-selling cast recordings of all time.
Deserved.
And
Love you, Sarah Brightman.
Love you, Sarah B.
Love you, Sarah B. Are you single? I have a beautiful house. You'll have to ignore the 4 other flatmates.
Yeah. So the Broadway run, it opened on the 26th of January 1988 after 16 previews, with many of the cast returning from the original West End run, with Sarah Brightman as Christine and Michael Crawford as the Phantom. It was nominated for 10 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, Best Performance by a Leading Actor in a Musical, Best Performance by a Featured Actress in a Musical, Best Direction of a Musical, Best Book, Best Score, Best Scenic Design, Best Costume Design, Best Lighting Design, and Best Choreography. It won 5 out of the 9 awards it was nominated for, losing out on Best Book of a Musical that went to Into the Woods, Best Choreography, Best Lighting, Best Original Score. Again,
lost Best Original Score?
Yeah. To Into the Woods.
It's Phantom of the Opera.
It's Into the Woods.
It's like the most iconic musical of all time.
Okay,
I brought this up like before. You know, on TikTok they have those challenges which are like, do you know these top 10 musical theatre songs?
But
for every other musical, it will be an actual song. Yeah. It'll be like a lyric, like someone singing. You're like, oh yes, I know this iconic song. For Phantom, it's always the overture. That's music. That is a score.
I think that they were just sick of giving Andrew Lloyd Webber some Tonys over Sondheim, and so they were like, fuck, we just have to give Sondheim his score.
Andy hasn't had a win since Phantom. They could have at least given him best original
but
score.
they didn't know that.
I could have told you that. In the 80s, I could have said there won't be anything as big as Phantom for him.
Guys, this is his last time being a serious contender for a Tony.
Yeah, like, what else does he put out? We're not going to put Love Never Dies up for best. Actually, Love Never Dies does have a pretty good score.
Love Never Dies never made it to Broadway.
That's true. It should have.
We'll get to it when we talk about its closing.
Love Never Dies.
I need you.
I do want to say this because I've been talking about this a lot with Esme. Love Never Dies is only good because it's very clear that it's the first time Andrew Lloyd Webber has discovered intentional comedy.
Yeah.
Love Never Dies is funny. Like, there are points in Phantom that are funny because it's Phantom and it's Andrew Lloyd Webber. Love Never Dies, they have like jokes.
Like bands at Love Never Dies.
Yeah. I love, Devil Take the Hindmost. The opening of that is the funniest thing ever.
Is that the rock? Is that the pop rock?
No,
rock?
that's the one where it's like, it's when Val's drunk in the bar.
Oh,
like,
yeah!
Afraid of him. Was afraid of me, you say.
There are parts of Love Never Dies that are unintentionally funny, though.
The emo rock song
is hilarious.
Unintentionally funny.
Unintentionally hilarious. But no, it was
quite possibly the peak of the show.
Yeah, quite possibly. I was like, the song Love Never Dies was good as well.
I think that's the thing. I don't think anyone is disagreeing that the song Love Never Dies is a really good song. And I genuinely think it's better than a lot of the songs Christine has in Phantom of the Opera. Making You Somehow Here Again is probably one of my favorite songs ever. But I also, like, especially from, like, a technical aspect, like, Love Never Dies is a much harder song to sing.
Yeah.
And it's also, we never really see, apart from Think of Me, we never see Christine have a proper, like, opera aria, which is what she's meant to be singing.
Yeah. But back to the Tonys, it was very contentious that they gave a mega musical a Tony, because the Tonys hate... Yeah. You think about it, the Tonys hated the British by this point.
Yeah.
But they just had fucking Les Mis come up.
Yeah.
Cats, Evita.
Do you know the story with Sarah Brightman in the Broadway production? It's so good. Basically, when they were putting on the Broadway production of Phantom of the Opera, Andy was like, "Wow, I don't even know if they were still married at this point. They were married for like a year. It's a lie. They were married until 1990.
Sorry,
he was like, I want Sarah B to be Christine on Broadway. And I believe it was the Broadway Actors Union. I think it was the Broadway Actors Union. It was something to protect the rights of like American actors. Was like, no, this is Broadway. We need an American actor to play Christine. And he was like, well, I really want Sarah B to do it. I want Sarah Brightman. And if I can't have her, I just won't put my musical on Broadway. And they were like, well, shit, Phantom of the Opera is like a big success. We probably need it on Broadway. So they agree under the condition that in his next musical, whatever it may be, he stars a American actress as the lead.
Sunset Boulevard with Patti LuPone. I swear.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Because then we have one of my favourite things, which is Patti LuPone suing Andrew Lloyd Webber and building the Andrew Lloyd Webber Memorial Pool.
Oh, yeah.
Which is amazing.
I always forget he's a baron. I just went to go look on his Wikipedia page.
He's also in the House of Lords, and you hate the House of Lords.
He's not anymore.
Not anymore, but he was for a long ass time.
Most people are. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Patti LuPone.
Yeah. Obviously, Phantom being the biggest musical ever, there was a movie adaptation. We're not going to talk about it. In 2004. We're not going to talk about it, and it was a bit of a flop.
No, the 2004 movie is pretty good.
It was a commercial flop, though. No one liked it.
There's a lot of things that are bad with it. It stars Emmy Rossum.
From Shameless.
Yep. As Christine Daae. And Jared Butler as the Phantom.
Yeah.
Which is fun. My little sister loves it. She loves talking to me about the costumes. She loves the costumes. The costumes in it are apparently very good.
Also, because of the sustained success, there have been a lot of different productions that we're not going to get into all of them today. We're just going to talk about a couple of massively because there's an entire Wikipedia page just dedicated
I spend most of my time on that.
Of... yeah, if you ever wonder what Nell's doing, there's a chance she's looking at that Wikipedia page. So we're just going to talk about
It's either that or it's watching the like 10-minute long video of compilations of chandelier crashes from around the world.
Yeah, she does like watching that.
And I'll tell you all of my favorite ones of those. 2003 Hungary, non-replica production, best one.
So there was a Las Vegas run in 2006 at the Venetian Hotel where it was revived into a 90-minute version of the show, with it playing 10 shows a week.
Nice. This is a thing I've realized that Andy loves. Like, Joseph used to just be like a fucking 20-minute run.
Yeah.
He loves writing really short musicals. Then he wrote Phantom and it was like 10 hours long.
Yeah. Let Andy rock, I guess. It was a pared down version of the show. The set changed from the original designs, with there being a $40 million theatre that was designed especially for the show. The new Phantom included a lavish 1,800 seat replica of the Paris Opera House constructed inside of the Venetian Hotel Casino.
It's incredible.
Have I shown you the photos of... I've shown you the photos about when I went to the Venetian. So I've been to Vegas, and the Venetian is really weird because it's like a little Venice inside of Vegas, and there's like a canal going through it, and you can get on a gondola.
That's like all like they have a fucking Eiffel Tower in Vegas.
Yeah,
that's so the whole Vegas, thing.
But it's weird because the sky, because you feel like it feels like you're in a theme park, but you're technically in a hotel. And when I found out that the Phantom played there, I was like, that massively checks out. Yeah. According to the producers, from the moment you enter the magnificent custom-built theatre, you are immersed into the storied Paris Opera House and become part of the Phantom's world, featuring every beloved Andrew Lloyd Webber song from the original, spectacular sets, new effects, and the breathtaking chandelier experience. Phantom is a only in Vegas experience. Among the promises from the producers, more fireworks, more immersive, more environmental experience, and an even faster than ever crashing chandelier.
Yeah, because we had safety regulations we had to follow.
Yep. Whereas everything's bigger in Vegas. Yeah. And so Vegas is actually the perfect place for Phantom.
I don't think that's true.
No, I don't, but I feel like it's a good place for them to do whatever random stuff that they weren't legally allowed to do in...
or in Hungary, apparently, because that chandelier fell. Tell you that much.
Hal Prince did not accept his special 2006 Lifetime Tony Award achievement because he was in the middle of rehearsals for this Phantom. That's how much he cares.
Checks out.
Yeah, with Hal Prince stating that they wanted surprises, we gave them surprises when talking about the production. I have then included a photo of the animatronics boxes, because they have these boxes where animatronics would watch the Phantom.
Which I think is so good. I like how they do it on stage better because it makes more sense just to have the two sets of boxes on stage.
Like, I really do wish I could watch a 90-minute version of Phantom.
Yeah.
Get all the greatest hits, get all the coolest effects, and dip. For the 4-year anniversary of the show in Vegas, they did a photo, like, you know how for all the big performances they do like a photo on stage? They did that, but they have everyone in the theatre wear Phantom masks. It was the first time that Sierra Boggess would play the role of Christine, with Variety saying it also proves a chance to hear the splendid singer Boggess in a warm and tender moment. For much of the show, she displays a fabulous technical dexterity with her voice, where her voice envelops the lyric striking purity. Unlike most of the other leads, she has no prior Phantom experience. Her most significant credit is Road Tour of Les Mis. It would run until 2012, with it closing down to make way for Tim McGraw and Faith Hill to do a show. The headline states on Playbill, after 6 years, Phantom's Las Vegas lair is shut down to make way for Tim McGraw and Faith Hill. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
We should just refer to like all Phantoms opening and closing as the opening and closing of the Phantom's lair, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. The 25th anniversary version in London. It is probably one of the most famous productions of Phantom that isn't the original.
It's so good.
I need to do a proper watching of it. I can't lie.
Well, I have the DVD.
You do have the DVD, as we discovered. It was announced that to celebrate the 25th anniversary on the West End, there would be a full stage production at the Royal Albert Hall on the 1st and 2nd of October, your birthday. God. Reem Karamalou and Sierra Bogas would be playing Christine and Phantom. This production was directed by Lawrence Connor, with Gillian Lynn providing staging and choreo again. Lawrence Connor is the guy from Bad Cinderella.
Yeah.
He is one of Andy's friends. Andrew Lloyd Webber has 2 friends. Their names are Cameron McIntosh.
I feel like he's from somewhere else too.
He also did the reworked Les Mis.
What's his name? Lawrence O'Connor.
Lawrence Connor. Andrew Lloyd Webber has 2 friends, Lawrence Connor and Cameron McIntosh.
Well, that's literally it.
That's literally it. So the stars of Love, the stars.
He's literally just either Les Mis or Andrew Lloyd Webber stuff.
As I said, he has 2 friends.
Oh my God.
The stars were coming over from Love Never Dies, which was playing in London until the year before, but closed because it's Love Never Dies. It's hard to get normal people to go see the sequel to Phantom of the Opera.
No. Did you not see our damned audience when we saw it?
Yeah, but like a longer run. I think
yeah.
it's not built to run for like a year. In a review of the show, Broadway.com stated that Sierra Bogas acted the hell out of the part, even making the Phantom's big music of the night solo a fascinating moment for her character, viably toying with the feelings of desire and disgust in a real way. And Christine's graveyard song to her dead father, Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again, was a vocal highlight, an emotional outpouring on a level Bogas' outstanding performance of the title aria in Love Never Dies. Again, it's static. Because, I mean, when we saw Love Never Dies, you turned to me and went, that song was written for Sierra Bogas.
Oh, yeah.
After that, there was a tour version that was made in its honour, going to Plymouth, Manchester, Bristol, Dublin, Leeds, Edinburgh, Milton Keynes, Cardiff, Southampton, where it spent a month in each of these locations. So this was a
star-studded tour.
No, it was just genuinely
Milton Keynes.
That literally the next note I had is poor West End stars having to spend some time in Milton Keynes. It was like proper people who had done the roles before, because this tour was a massive deal. So it ran from the 27th of February 2012 and ended on the 16th of February 2013. Love Never Dies interlude. This is time for you to fully talk about Love Never Dies. I have a synopsis here for you to read.
What about Love Never Dies?
Yeah, if you would like to.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it in one go though, because I'm going to
Yeah.
tear it apart.
Yeah.
The year is 1907. It is 10 years after his disappearance from the Paris Opera House. No, it's not. It's at least 20. And the Phantom has escaped to a new life in New York. No, he didn't. Where he lives amongst the screaming joyrides and freak shows of Coney Island, an electrically charged world. He has finally found a place for his music to soar. All that is missing is his love, Christine Daae. Christine is struggling in an ailing marriage to Raoul. She accepts an invitation to New York to perform at a renowned opera house. No, it's at the opening of Hammerstein's Theatre, not an opera house. In a final bid to win back her love, the Phantom lures Christine, her husband, and their young son Gustave from Manhattan to the glittering and glorious world of Coney Island, not knowing what is in store for them.
I'm glad Gustave gets a mention.
The Gustave we saw, I'm going to talk about him so much. He was incredible.
The Telegraph have called it one of the greatest of all Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals.
Yeah.
It's going to be playing in Shanghai if you're in Shanghai.
I'm not going to Shanghai for it.
Well, you've seen it.
I found out some things that were apparently missing from our little staged concert.
Really?
They cut a kiss between Raoul and Christine, so it seemed very much. Apparently, you're not meant to immediately realize that Christine's gonna end up with the Phantom in this version. It's meant to be like, will she choose the Phantom? Will she choose Raoul?
It's a very obvious choice.
It's very much the Phantom in the one we saw.
Yeah, Norm Lewis was there, so you had to make him look good.
Yeah. They changed a lot of the costuming, which I guess makes sense. It was a concert.
Yeah, it was a concert version.
I also don't like this. The synopsis did not talk about Meg or Madame Giry at all. Because they were kind of the 2 most important characters in it.
Yeah, Meg especially is very much driving the plot.
I love Meg. She did no wrong. She was completely right.
There's a moment where I was like, I understand her completely. Go off, Queen.
the bit right at the end when she was talking about all she's been through.
Yes.
And she was like, I've been like sexually assaulted just to get you to where you are. And the Phantom was like, well, you can all be Christine.
Well, Christine's the best thing since Christine's my second coming of Christ.
Exactly. Oh God, it's insane. Anyways, I actually did kind of enjoy Love Never Dies. I'll talk about it a ton when we do its actual episode.
It was the day after my birthday. I was a bit hungover. It was the first show I saw out of 3 in a row.
And it was great. It was really good.
I really enjoyed the rock opera in the middle of it.
It's not a rock opera. It was emo rock. Rock opera, no, pop opera is like Phantom.
Yeah, emo rock. I really enjoyed the emo rock number.
I want to say this.
Slade. Seeing Andrew Lloyd Webber in the flats was priceless.
You can tell that Phantom's from the 80s because of its kind of like
the sound.
Like you were saying with the sound, like there's all these synths in it. And like especially the song The Phantom of the Opera is kind of very synth, electric guitar, all that kind of stuff. It's very 80s.
Yeah.
It sounds great. Love Never Dies. It's kind of a mix of everything because it has a lot of references and like basically samples of songs from The Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
And then the title song, Love Never Dies, is obviously very traditional. It's an aria.
Love Never Dies does feel a bit out of place.
Yeah.
It's an amazing song.
All of Christine's songs kind of... This is actually really annoyed me. In the song Open Your Heart...
Oh, the one with her and Gustav?
Yeah, right at the beginning.
Slays.
It's a great song. But like 2 or 3 verses, they keep setting up all of these rhymes which would work perfectly with the line Love Never Dies. So I really thought she was going to say it. And then she goes like, and it's like, just say it. No, yeah, but it's kind of, Love Never Dies, you can kind of tell is early 2000s, 2010s-ish, because it's emo rock.
Also, the other song that was unintentionally hilarious. The one where they're talking about having sex.
Which is supposedly 2 songs, did not feel like it.
Weird. And
there's this one great bit in between the 2 songs when she's like, there is no us. And I'm like, that's true. You've been separated for 10 years. And then they're like, they have a song where it's like, we had sex.
Yeah.
And I loved you. And then I woke up and you disappeared because you were so scared I'd find you ugly, as if we hadn't just had sex.
Yeah.
And then
it's like
there's another song. They're like, and we had sex. It's so long. Then a lot of the songs are really funny intentionally. For example, I think Dear Old Friend is really funny.
Oh, I like Dear Old Friend.
Yeah, purely for the bit when Madame Giry and Raoul are talking. And Raoul's like, so who is our boss? Like, I haven't met him, Mr. Y. Who is this guy? And Madame Giry's like, are you kidding? It's him. And he's like, him? You work for him? And she's like, you do too now.
Yeah, and so do you.
And the other one is Devil Take the Hindmost, which is a great song. Like, unironically, it's actually a really good song. Like, I love it. But it is so funny. It's just Raoul and the Phantom beefing with each other.
Oh yeah, is that opens Act 2, right?
Yeah, it's right after he's at the bar and the guy's like, well, the morning shift's coming in, I'm heading out.
Yeah.
Sure you don't want to close out your tab?
Yeah. Oh wow.
But the opening is so good because it's like, Christine will always choose me over you. And the Phantom's like, choose you with all your charms.
Yeah, because the whole reason why they're having to go is because Raoul's in debt.
Yeah. And then he starts strangling him. The recording that I listened to, which is really good. It's the one with the red cover on Spotify. It's like from I'm not even joking, it's the one I have the DVD of.
So the Australian version.
I think so, yeah. It's the recorded version. I really love it. Firstly, because the kid playing Gustav cannot do a British accent. So there's some great lines where he's like,
hey, why
does mother look beautiful tonight?
I don't get the insistence that they have to do British accents. For the 25th anniversary on Broadway, Sierra Burgess was once again reprised her role for a Strictly Limited Engagement. She's always in that damn show. She just like, I think like Andrew just calls her up and is like, do you want to do Phantom again? And she's like, sure. Unironically,
right now, go on her Wikipedia page. All of you at home listening.
I've been on her Wikipedia page today.
we're gonna do it with everyone listening at home.
Okay.
Open up Google and go to Sierra Burgess's Wikipedia page. Right, I'll give you time to do it while I watch Esme's type it in.
I'm on the page.
You want to scroll down to theatre credits. You could click the sidebar and just count how many times Phantom comes up.
Are we including Love Never Dies?
You can. Anytime she's playing Christine Daae.
5.
And then she goes on again at some point.
Yeah, so she comes back in 2014 alongside Norm Lewis, who was the first African.
Norm Lewis!
Our bestie. Who was the
He was incredible as the Phantom. I loved him so much. He was the
first African-American performer to play Phantom in the Broadway production.
Yeah. We haven't had like any on the West End I can recall off the top of my head.
No, Norm Lewis is the first black man to play the Phantom, which is...
I saw the first Black Christine, Lucy St. Louis, but in the West End, because there was a Black Christine in South Africa, in the South African production. And then Lucy St. Louis, when she reopened it after the pandemic, was the first Black Christine, Principal Christine on the West End.
A Black Christine on Broadway, again reopening.
Yeah.
I have a quote about that later on. Andrew stated, yeah, it would be the second time that they would star together, the first time being The Little Mermaid on Broadway again. Someone called Toby.
Yeah. Who did Norm Lewis play in The Little Mermaid?
Lord Triton. Her dad.
Oh, change of dynamic, I guess.
Yeah. Andrew saying, "This is wonderful news!" ! I can't wait to see Sierra Burgess and Norm Lewis perform together as Christine and Phantom. Broadway audiences are in for a treat. How insightful.
Could you imagine if we had seen... oh my god, what was her name?
Linda Schoenmaker.
She was incredible.
When I told Martha we were seeing her as Christine, she looked like I just like stolen a puppy from her.
I will say, and it's genuinely, I'm very proud that I haven't yet brought this up. Give us back blonde Christine.
Fuck's sake.
She's canonically blonde. And the reason I'm bringing this up now is because why did we have a blonde actress playing Christine?
I swear she's from like the Nordics.
Yeah, and you put her in a brunette wig. Christine, she's from Sweden. Her name is Daae.
Yeah.
She's from Sweden. At the very least, if not specific, I'm saying Sweden quite confidently. I'm not actually 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure she is. She's from like a Scandinavian country.
Yeah.
Why are you making it? I understand you made her brunette because Sarah B, love you, Sarah B, was brunette.
Oh,
and then you kind of kept casting, and I understand it when it's like, they've done it now to basically just match the actress's hair color.
Yeah.
Except apparently, if the actress is blonde. It's also the thing. It's like Meg. They just keep making Meg blonde when Meg was in the book originally supposed to be Romani, or at least non-white.
Yeah, that's really interesting because we also saw the first non-white Meg in Love Never Dies.
Who was incredible. I loved it. I
Courtney
think it was
Stapleton.
genuinely. Yeah. I think it was genuinely just her performance. When I just kept watching, I was like, no, Meg is in the right here.
Yeah, I was like, Meg.
Christine.
She had an incredibly hard job to do, and she did it amazingly.
Yeah, I think it's the way as well she sang all of the like Mother Did You Watch, Mother Did You See?
Oh yes, yeah.
I dragged Esme to see this, and I cannot remember any of the cast names. And Esme,
I can remember the cast names,
yeah,
but I cannot remember what went on.
I do. The woman who played Madame Giry.
Don't know that.
I could literally get out the program right now, but I won't. But she was incredible, and she did a very good job of making a character who you kind of inherently like if you've seen Phantom of the Opera. Because Madame Giry is a very nice character in the Phantom of the Opera, into a very unlikable character.
Yes.
I mean, she's a bitch throughout Love Never Dies.
They all had a hard job because they all had to basically take these beloved characters and like skirt them off the rails and make it look natural.
I think honestly, also one of my favorite things about Norm Lewis is that there's an interview with him in my Love Never Dies program. I almost said playbill, and I was like, no, I paid for that shit. That is a program.
So annoying. I want a playbill.
I know. But he did an interview where it was like, oh, do you think that playing the Phantom in both Phantom of the Opera and Love and Never Dies has helped your understanding of the character. He gave a very good answer where he was like, yes, I think that it is a cohesive character. I think you'll see, like, you can map the change throughout it. But also, my favorite thing about that interview was that he called the Phantom Eric throughout the whole thing.
I remember you saying.
And I was like, he has read the book.
He's
a man of culture.
Yeah, he is a man of...
I love Non-Lewis.
True culture. Anyway, there have been many international productions, as we have stated. Nell is a massive fan of all of them. Some have been replica and non-replica. They're taking place across the world. Notably, it is not played in France, despite being set there. It was meant to, though, on the 13th of October 2016, it was indefinitely postponed due to a fire that broke out in the basement on the 25th of September.
That was the Phantom himself.
It was the firefighters were able to extinguish the blaze. However, the stage floor and various set pieces were damaged. This production was meant to celebrate the 30th anniversary. Preview performances were set to begin on October 4th. Sorry.
Wow.
So close to your birthday.
I know.
Our link to the Phantom remains strong, and we will stay ready and united to give the theatre back to the audiences. Lauren Ventata, managing director of Stage Entertainment France, said in a statement. Bogues was again meant to reprise her role as Christine because there's an anniversary performance happening, and so she has to be there.
Obviously.
Toby, that's not a word against Sierra.
I'm pretty sure there's a video of her singing
in honor of
the song, and people join in French.
In honor of the opening night, they went to the theatre or the Paris Opera House, I'm not sure, and did a dance.
Oh my god.
I think one was at the theatre and then one was at the Opera House.
Oh my god, I want to go to the Palace Garnier so bad.
She genuinely talks about it all the time.
Anyway, my favorite non-replica performance is, again, I'll bring it up again, Hungary 2003, Budapest specifically.
Is it just because of how fast that chandelier falls?
It's because of the way they stage the entire chandelier fall. Which I have two favorite productions. So
I was about to say
is Budapest 2003, because I don't know if you guys have seen Phantom of the Opera, but the way they do the end of Think of Me is they have Christine turn her back on the real audience and bow backwards, basically. So she's bowing away from the audience, and then the curtains close. This is very hard to explain. The curtains close so that she is still on stage in front of the curtains, and they'll reopen, and the set will have changed to be backstage at the theatre. But she's bowing away, so it's like you are backstage as the audience. The chandelier in the Budapest production falls the same way. So all of the actors come on stage and face away from you and bow, and then you watch the chandelier fall in front of them, so at the back of the stage, so it just plummets straight down. So I think you do miss out a bit of the chandelier rising. My other favorite non-replica production is the current ongoing Italian production. I want to go and see it.
Obsessed.
So bad. It's genuinely a problem because I keep getting clips of it. I need to go so bad. The costuming, amazing. My sister sent me a TikTok. There was a guy who was like, the Italian costuming is bad. Shut the fuck up. No, it's not. It's been made more Italian, which I think is perfect.
You gotta localize it.
Yeah. But it looks great. It's incredible. The colours are a lot nicer. We have a blonde Christine, of course.
Obviously.
The Phantom swings across the stage.
I actually do want to see the Italian production because I think it'd be hilarious.
There is, I found out something that they have, the ceiling of the theatre is a night sky.
Yeah.
I just want to put that out there. They have a rotating box set. So as in, I think it's specifically for Masquerade.
Yeah.
The set turns to reveal the inside of the opera house. And you watch Masquerade happen. Again, I want to reiterate again, the Phantom swings across the stage on a
when you sent me the clip, I started giggling
it's so good. And then it falls straight down, and you want to know who's on that damn chandelier?
The Phantom.
The Phantom. It's incredible. I really want to see it. The lair looks a lot nicer.
I'd like to bring your attention.
I love the Phantom of the Opera Italian production specifically.
Let's talk about COVID and Phantom.
Phantom went insane during COVID.
Phantom went nuts. So there was a 2020 tour that was meant to be a 14-month tour, but was cancelled due to COVID since it only got to play at one city. The tour cast would then join the West End cast when it reopened, which was nice. In London, the time was taken to change the show with the orchestrations changing. The West End production of Phantom of the Opera was confirmed to be using a reduced orchestration written for 14 musicians, which was resumed performances in July. A nearly 50% reduction from the 27-member orchestra pit in the staging that was used when the spread of COVID shuttered live theatre in March. In a joint statement, Lloyd Webber and Mackintosh say that they believe orchestrations to be just as thrilling and rich as the original, and that the shift would help ensure the music of the night will soar for decades more. The composer and producer...
To be fair to them, orchestra doesn't sound any worse.
Again, this is just another case of Andrew Lloyd Webber and Cameron Mackintosh being besties and it being a bitch for the rest of the world.
But I think, like, okay, I don't want to defend Andrew Lloyd Webber. I know it sounds like I might be, that I love him. I genuinely have a lot of criticisms of him. I don't think he's a great guy.
Oh, we'll get to it in a moment. Like, he's besties with Margaret Thatcher. Like, him and Thatcher were gal pals.
But no matter how successful Phantom was and is, I don't think it was realistic to assume that they could constantly keep up level that it was at.
Yeah.
Like, the orchestrations were incredible and they sounded incredible. But to employ and because the thing with orchestras is you don't really have like understudies for them.
No.
Like, if an orchestra is written for like 50 people, if an orchestration is written for 50 people, if an orchestration is written for 50 people and 10 of them get ill because, again, you're in a really like enclosed pit, you cannot perform to the same extent that you could when it's written at full capacity, especially if those people out sick are all in one section. Like, if all your violins get sick, you cannot perform. And so there's that, and then there's also the cost of employing that many musicians, the cost of replacing them musicians tend not to change that much, especially for like musicals.
I don't understand how it fully works, so I'm just going to shut my mouth.
It tends to be a pretty permanent role.
Well, I mean, we'll get to it in literally 2 seconds, but they did have Cameron Mackintosh did release a statement on it, and it did make me want to fight him. Anyway, so back to Andrew and Cameron's adventures in being menaces to society. The composer and producer have always taken great pride in the size of the show's orchestra and magnificent symphonic sound. So it was a bit of a shocker to discover that the orchestrations were adapted to be the smaller lineup. But Mackintosh has a history of reworking his shows either to modernize them or make them slightly cheaper to run, depending on who you talk to. The process usually becomes into streaming a cumbersome production in order to tour it, aka what he had done with Les Mis, like a couple months before the shutdown. He made Les Mis so much cheaper to run. The original director and choreographer Hal Prince and Gillian Lynn are still credited, as well as Maria Bornson for her magnificent set. However, in a recent press release, it intriguingly states that the original production will not only be recreated but adapted by two contemporary practitioners, choreographer Chrissy Cartwright and director Seth Schuyler Hayen. A little further reading it reveals that they're responsible for the touring version. It again begins to look like as if Mackintosh is replacing the original production and keeping it quiet to avoid the outcry that surrounded Les Mis' revamp. Publicists have been keen to emphasize that Webber's excitement that for the first time since it opened, the production will feature an entirely new cast. In a response to this backlash and this chatter, Cameron Mackintosh said in an interview with The Telegraph, "I've had a terrible year trying to keep as many people on as I can, but it's our job to try and put a show on that is truly brilliant," he said. And I'm sorry, ? I'm sorry you're upset, but I do find it odd that musicians would want to keep doing the same thing year after year. I believe we should not be holding jobs for actors or musicians ad infinitum. This is not the civil service. We're creating art. I don't really know what to say to that. It's kind of insane. Like, I get what he's saying, like, it was a bad time for theatre, but Cameron Mackintosh is an incredibly rich man.
Yeah, but he can't fund it himself. I think as well they make the point that he's used to doing it for touring productions. And if
Yeah,
you're seeing a touring production, you want it as close to the original as you can get because you obviously can't afford to travel to see the original.
yeah,
Well, that
yeah.
not obviously, but that tends to be the case with people seeing touring productions. So I think there's definitely a reason that they've done it. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think
I'm
Hal
not.
Prince's version is the best version.
Yes, obviously. I also am not sure
I
how
think
I
they should
feel.
have kept it. I think they shouldn't have redone the set pieces if the set pieces were already there.
I mean, they're
I
still
think the
selling out.
orchestration shouldn't have been put down if because again it is steady work. Like I get what he's saying, you don't want to do the same work all the time.
But it is
But there's
steady.
also a thing, it is so hard to find work for musicians, especially if you want to be like professional on Broadway musician.
Also,
That it
like
makes sense why people would stay doing the same work for so long.
some of the music,
Like, I don't know, I said before, I don't want to sound like I'm defending him. There's definitely a reason that they've done all this stuff. And
and
I
it
think you can
is
definitely see what the reason is, and a lot of it is to do with money. But that doesn't mean that it's
bad.
an inherently bad decision.
Yeah,
It's not a good one. I'll definitely say that. I think
I
the old production was definitely better. I think they probably should have kept it. I would have preferred if they'd kept it.
I did find it interesting to
Yeah.
note that Andrew was not fighting leading the cause on this because I think he would like the old production to still be running.
That's the thing. If Andrew Lloyd Webber, who said he was willing to get arrested to get
This
theatres
was around the
reopened,
time he was talking about he being arrested, him being
like
arrested.
I think as like hyperbolic as it was, you could tell it was something he felt very passionate about. And so
He
that's why I think it's not the thing that he was firing musicians because like, nah, fuck him. I just want to pay less money. I just want my theatres to keep running as cheap as I can. He clearly has a passion for the arts and keeping people in the arts employed.
yes, he
And so I don't
also
think that any of his choices in terms of scaling down all of his productions were inherently what's the word?
ill
Ill-intentioned.
yeah. I also
But
think that
it's coming out of a global pandemic when the entire economy was in shambles. Should he have fired people? Probably not. Not if he was campaigning to keep those positions open and
yes.
get them reopened. But can you see where he's come from? Yes. And I really don't want to defend him because it was a shit move and it's a horrible thing to do. And he's kind of a horrible person. Sarah Brightman, call me up. But
Yeah,
fuck
you
Andrew Lloyd Webber. Fuck
Sarah
Andrew Lloyd
Brightman,
Webber. On
you
a side
can
note, Andy, I
come.
would love
Oh.
to come to this Edmonton festival.
Sarah, you can come on the podcast and tell us everything about Andrew Lloyd Webber. We would love to hear it.
But it's all that stuff. I think there's a reason he did it. Again, I don't think it's the
Yeah,
best reason.
no, I don't. I get it, but also at the same time, I'm like, come on now. But also with the whole him and COVID thing, he did truly fight the fight. He talked a lot, and then he also did a lot.
I think that's the thing. Say what you will about him, he definitely cared about getting people because the arts as a whole is a very unstable career
Yes,
path.
yes,
Like you'll see so many people, especially on TikTok, who are like, I want to be on Broadway. Like I'm living in New York. I'm trying to work on Broadway. But you but a lot of the time you'll see them and they are not working on Broadway. It
yeah,
is very hard to get employed, especially now because nepotism is kind of the whole big thing on Broadway. And not even necessarily nepotism, but like the Sierra Burgess thing. She's incredibly talented.
like
She
knowing the
deserves like
right
all,
people.
yeah. But no, she deserves every role she's got. She's incredible. But when she has played Christine Daae, what, like 8 times?
I think it's something like that.
And especially when you're doing it internationally. Like I understand when it's like to open a show, they have like the old cast come and open it.
Like the Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah, like it was London. Could they not have gotten the London Christine to do it?
Yeah.
It's all that kind of stuff. That's the big problem with Broadway, is it's so unstable. It is so horrific when like dash the stable jobs.
Yes,
Like cutting down
they.
on things like Phantom, Les Mis, cut so many jobs that even like I don't know if I'm entirely remembering this correctly, but I'm pretty sure they cut down ensembles for both shows.
Yeah,
They
that wouldn't
used to have bigger ensembles,
surprise
I
me.
think,
That wouldn't surprise me.
which is a rough thing to cut.
They
Yeah.
also revamped the internal version of the stage and inner works to the stage area, calling for alterations of the proscenium boxes and orchestra pits and repainting the ceiling. So they did the smart thing, which was this theatre, which has not been vacant for 35 years at this point, needs work done to it. We're never going to get a chance like this again. And I feel like more theatres should have taken that approach. Actually, Andrew Lloyd Webber's theatres did do that.
Yeah. Shout out Theatre Royal Drury Lane. That just got revamped. Incredible in
It's
there.
amazing.
The sound quality.
We really enjoy it. It was noted that it is important to the production and for dramatic effect that requires a strong connection between the stage and the auditorium. This is particularly important for Phantom of the Opera, which seeks to blur the boundary between stage and auditorium, as such that the auditorium and the audience become a part of the production. It is an unusual situation, as most productions would be limited to the set stage.
I think that's true.
Well, these restorations...
You're both the audience of the show and you're the audience in the opera house.
Yeah.
Which is why, again, the auditory things we talked about earlier are so incredibly, like, cool. Yeah. Because it's not only that you are just sat here watching the show, The Phantom of the Opera. It's that you're also watching what is supposedly happening in the Palace Garden. When that chandelier falls, and they're like, holy fuck, how will this affect our audience? Our audience aren't gonna come back. You're the audience.
And you're about to go for Act 1.
Yeah. They've just bowed. And what would be the end of their show is the end of your Act 1. Exactly. So when you come back and they're like, oh god, 6 months later, we finally repaired our opera house.
We're back for Masquerade.
Yeah, we're back for a little celebration of, 6 months of peace from that Phantom fella. You're like, yeah, that's true. I've just had a 20-minute break from that guy.
Oh, amazing. So the restorations of Her Majesty's Theatre will preserve it as a Grade 2 listed building and will sustain and enhance the architectural and historical significance. So with the official Phantom Twitter stating that with the new year upon us, we are excited to seek work at Her Majesty's underway and looking forward to sharing updates as we prepare for the Phantom and its return home and its London home in June. And it's a video of all these stage hands really hard at work, and Cameron McIntosh just stood there good work guys, good work. It's kind of funny, and the Phantom scores underneath it. It's a good watch. It reopened on Broadway with the same production that closed, and it returned without much fanfare on the 26th of October 2021, with the most notable thing happening being Andrew Lloyd Webber's DJ set.
Oh my god. Love that guy.
Taken to an elevated booth planted outside the Majestic, Webber made his entrance to the sound of a harrowing organ chorus, grabbing the attention of everyone on the street. The opening track, titled The Phantom of the Opera ID Remix, seamlessly intertwined the script of the playwright's eponymous work through the songs of voluptuous opera vocals. On the production side, the tracks break down into an unexpectedly smooth house groove that few fans of the timeless 1986 musical could have seen coming. As many as 1,000 people witnessed the spectacle and noted that several attendees were dressed up as their favorite characters while singing along to the set.
Me.
I was like, Nell would have given anything to be at Andrew Lloyd Webber's DJ set.
Can I just say, while we are on the topic of weird places or ways to play the Phantom of the Opera soundtrack.
Oh my god, yes!
Why was Donald Trump at one of his rallies playing I don't know if you played the whole song.
Point of no return.
The Point of No Return. And why was only the end bit specifically recorded on an interview? Specifically, I want to make this clear. Pretty sure that was the 25th anniversary recording, because you can very clearly hear Carlotta do that. It's happening. Which doesn't... It sounds a lot clearer than it does in the original recording. So why was he listening to Sierra Baguette?
Sierra Baguette hates him.
Surely a little bit of Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella, Laura Osnes.
Oh my god!
Laura, Point of No Return.
Would have come.
She would have sung one of her new songs up there.
She would have sung her song about cancel culture.
Exactly. Perfect for a Trump rally.
Perfect for a Trump rally. You can get your Broadway. Even actually, there's probably a lot more Trump supporters on Broadway than I would like to think.
Oh, definitely. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna say this loosely. Because I don't actually know how true it is. Don't think Andrew Lloyd Webber is a Trump supporter.
I don't think he is. I think he like was aware of Trump in the 80s, but I think everyone was aware of Trump in the 80s.
Yeah, but that's when he was a movie star.
That was when he was like a business mogul and really
Yeah.
annoying. He was just like an annoying business mogul, so kind of like Andrew Lloyd Webber but with theaters.
It's like, you know how like Trump is mentioned in the Heights?
Yes, yeah, like that era.
Like prior to like 2016, like I'm fully.
Like,
I shouldn't say this.
I know.
But
Andrew...
I understand why he had like a little apartment in the Trump Tower.
Yes, no, I heard
as long
that.
as it was before the like 2016.
Yeah, no. I know that Andrew's a conservative. Well, he's a Lib Dem now.
He's a Lib Dem now.
We talk about Andrew Lloyd Webber's political affiliation a lot.
He was a Tory, and then he said that the Tories were so shit during the pandemic that he's now a Lib Dem.
He was a Tory, but he wasn't like that far right to be a Trump supporter.
No, he was kind of central right.
Yeah, he was central right. Anyway, in response to his DJ set or Andrew Lloyd Raver,
love it.
he tweeted, "Thank you for those who attended my first ever DJ set last night at the Majestic at Phantom of the Opera block party. Excited to see what could be next to me. Broadway, London, Ibiza, ? ALW. Andrew, if you want to do a DJ set in Ibiza, we'll be there."
Andy, hear me out. Crashers Week.
Yes!
I reckon we can get something going. A tour
Of all of the big universities. You could play for the musical theatre societies.
Oh my god. I reckon Oxford and Cambridge. They could use some Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Andrew Lloyd Webber's like his alter ego. So, sadly, on the 16th of September 2020, the New York Post broke the news that Phantom of the Opera would be closing in February 2023 after having a large bash to celebrate its 35th anniversary. The reason for the closure is the pandemic and never recovering since it was losing $1 million per month since it opened. That could be a clue to the musical's future. While its Phantom will close for good in February, it would be shocking not to see the return of a much cheaper iteration in the next few years. Macintosh pulled the same maneuver in London's Les Mis that is now at Sondheim Theatre. New director, slimmer set, more productions. Again, we've spoken about this. For now, the Schubert organisation will be pleased. The Majestic Theatre, the best musical house on Broadway, has now been freed up after nearly 4 decades. The right show could be grossing $3 million a week, rather than $1 million for Phantom. In fact, Schubert chair Robert Rankel wanted the Majestic for the upcoming musical Some Like It Hot, but was reluctant to give Phantom the boot. The theatre that the new show is going into is the Schubert, that has about 350 fewer seats. That's really interesting because Some Like It Hot is not doing amazingly right now.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you would have closed Phantom, an institution, to put in Some Like It Hot, and it like not be it? But I mean, we'll talk about it in a moment. The closing date would be pushed again due to high ticket sales. It became so hard to get a ticket because there are a bunch of people being like, fuck, I haven't seen Phantom of the Opera. I need to go see Phantom of the Opera before it closes.
Which is the right response.
See,
by the way,
if it was closing in London and I hadn't seen it, I would have gone out of my way to go see it.
If it closes here, I am going to go and see it.
We have to go see it again.
I actually have to.
There have been... Cameron Mackintosh has made statements being like, the chandelier will rise again over New York. He basically went on a press campaign right before it closed. And I felt bad for Andrew because he was not having a good time when it closed.
Did you remember the interview he did on the Jimmy Fallon show? I think it was Jimmy Fallon's show.
Yeah, what did he say exactly? I
can
picture it.
He got a note from the
yeah.
But it was like, I will find my new home in another theatre basement. And I just remember it because Andrew was like, I'm actually shaking trying to open this note. I'm so excited to see what the fandom has to say. I just
yeah, at that point it cost 80,000 to run every week. A lot of money. So Andrew was given a key to the city in honor of Phantom closing its historic run.
Oh
so
yeah.
should I tell you who he brought with him? Lindy Granado from Bad Cindy.
Okay.
And of course, Sarah
Oh,
B.
obviously.
It's really funny because like Andy and Sarah B are there like, and Lindy just looks so confused. I really do feel bad for her.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for her at all moments. So there was also around the time that Phantom closed, there was this great essay in Vulture which had some excellent quotes of it, which is where I found out about the whole Trump Tower living. In it, the essay states about the legacy of, it's basically talking about the legacy of Phantom. It's very interesting. What he offered was something different, an experience of sheer musical transcendence. This emphasis on the musical part of musical theatre served as both a defense of his earlier endeavors, which reasoning could be considered serious art, and a version of future Broadway. Night after night, the Phantom promised the audience that for 2.5 hours, nothing, neither plot nor character nor social issues, not even good taste, would be more important than what happened when that invisible beam of music shot across the theatre and into their souls. It is clear today that Phantom succeeded in remaking a musical in his own image. Not only did Lloyd Webber set Broadway on a current path of chintzy commercial nihilism, but he also reminded us, through his particular naivety, that the greatest obstacle to musical theatre as a dramatic art itself. Perhaps it's not why this is why we love it. Yet Lloyd Webber himself has rarely brought a Broadway hit since his 500-page memoir sparing him the embarrassable Love Never Dies, a sequel to Phantom. I thought that was very interesting about. It is a very interesting read if you're interested in the opera and how it's affected musical theatre. I would definitely recommend you going and seeking out. It will be linked on our show notes.
Ben Crawford was the last Phantom on Broadway, and he was meant to do the performance on closing night, but then he couldn't because he got really sick, and he literally like couldn't sing. And he was invited up on stage to do a bow at the end. That was kind of it. And it really sucked. But then he talked about it, I think like a week later.
He like did an Instagram post.
It was either Instagram or like Reddit or something.
Yeah. It was somewhere like you had to go looking for it.
Yeah. But he was basically saying that the reason he got so sick was because of the like
old technical
the we've been doing this for so long I cannot think.
We like, for reference, it is almost 7 p.m. and we got on this call at 3.
It's like things like not poor accommodations
or outdated technology.
Yeah, like the outdatedness of the theatre in general.
Like the Majestics have been in need of repairs for years. That's been a known thing.
Yeah, but they haven't because the Phantom's been in there. But he was saying they haven't updated the technology, like the mics or anything. So he was saying the reason he basically lost his voice was because of the way he had to sing.
Yes, yeah.
In order to be heard. And it's like we were saying earlier, Theatre Royal Drury Lane, great theatre, lovely theatre. It has such good audio quality.
Yes.
Like anywhere you're sat in that theatre, you can hear everything. And it was also just something, I don't know if it's just since Ben Crawford pointed it out, but it's something that I've noticed more and more when I'm seeing shows. It's a genuine problem with theatre where you are missing lines and missing jokes and missing important plot points of stories because you cannot actually hear what they're saying.
And as I briefly mentioned when I went to go see Wicked last November, the sound quality was so bad, like I could not hear it.
Yeah.
Like, you could hear that something was wrong, and you could hear like that it wasn't right. And again, it's a long running show, and again, it is an incredibly demanding vocal score. So
yeah,
the actors need to be able to do it in a way that is safe for them.
I think it's also stuff like when we went to West End Live,
Oh yeah.
there were a ton of malfunctions with the mics.
Mhm.
There were points where they were cutting out when we couldn't hear people singing. But also be understood, that was West End Live. It's a very like people go there to perform and then immediately run back and leave to go and do a show that for a matinee.
Yeah.
Like we saw the Les Mis cast come past us in full costume to go and get ready for their little set, and then go back past us to get back to their theatre to do a matinee.
Yeah.
Like we understand that that's a very quickly put on. It's very much you get that, you basically get a handheld mic a lot of the time.
And then it's like
and you just go and sing and then you leave.
Yeah.
Like it's really fun to go and watch. And I honestly, if you live in the UK and specifically in London or within a close distance of London, you probably should go see West End Live.
Go see it.
It's
a good time.
It's really fun.
I hope it's better organized this year.
Yeah, because it got really big this year, so we kind of didn't even get in.
We can do a whole West End Live thing because I've done it twice and had 2 different.
We'll do it in our year in review.
Yeah,
we'll throw it in there. Yeah, I think you understand why that has bad sound quality.
100%.
I don't get why shows that are running for so long
and making so much money.
Yeah, can't close for a week or close over Christmas for an extended period.
Yes. When they aren't making money anyway, because it's known that the winter months are bad for shows.
Yeah, like I understand kind of the period between Christmas and New Year's.
Yes, 100%.
Maybe keeping open because people go there. But like you can surely find a time to close for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And just improve at least a little the sound quality. I don't know if it would take 2 weeks. I'm not an engineer and I don't understand any of that stuff. There has got to be some way to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's closing down a show for a month.
Yeah.
I don't think that people running the theatres have any idea how much people want to be able to hear what they're listening to.
No, exactly.
Like Phantom, I don't care how beautiful it was to see on stage.
I'd like to be able to hear it.
Yeah, like the first time I saw it, we actually could not hear any of the words. We were sat a lot closer than I think it's because we were sat under a speaker the second time.
Yeah.
That we heard so much more of it. But the first time, like I could hear they were singing. I understood that quite possibly it was a sad song.
Yeah.
No idea what they were saying. Like Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again. Beautiful. Lucy St. Louis, incredible. I loved her so much. No clue what she was saying at that point.
Yeah.
Phantom's good.
Love
good. Phantom.
Love it.
Andrew Lloyd Webber. But invite us to Sydmonton Festival.
Invite us to Sydmonton Festival. We also
and to get a tour of Her Majesty's.
Sarah B.
Sarah Brightman. Sarah B.
Yeah. Hit us up. We want to talk.
Cameron, the Sierra Burgess.
Sarah Burgess. Hit us up. Your biggest fan would love to meet you. What else? Cameron McIntosh.
Fuck you.
Fuck you. Make your theatre tickets cheaper. You can do without the money. I am.
Shout out to Michael Crawford for fighting you on Lambeth Bridge.
And thank you so much if you got to the end of this episode. What are we doing next week? It's my episode to be really annoying.
Uh-oh.
It's Into the Woods.
Oh, it's Into the Woods. All right, I have to go listen to Into the Woods because I've never listened to it before.
Nell has to go listen to it, and if she doesn't, then
next time you hear from me, I'm going to be fresh off Into the Woods.
What a high! I wish.
Esme's going to text me, but like we're going to record tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, give me a minute to listen to it.
and then I'm gonna get okay. So I need to push it back by like an hour and a half so I can listen to this.
I should listen to this.
But on that note, I would like to say I found a quote in that Vulture article comparing Webber and Sondheim because they were about the same time, saying his contemporary Stephen Sondheim was a studied modernist who brought a dramatic heft to musical theatre in the 70s. By contrast, Lloyd Webber had no ear for drama. His characters simply declaimed their emotions directly into the audience as if by t-shirt canon.
And on that note, I need to go organise my Phantom of the Opera shelf. Esme needs to go get some notes about Into the Woods.
Yeah, Into the
We
Woods.
will see you
We
next
will
week.
see you next week.